Chapter 1 Shanhao Cashback System. Zhangcheng, inside a hotel. Yining opened his eyes with difficulty, and his body was full of aches and pains. The scattered clothes around him and the lingering scent of roses in his nose were all signs of how crazy last night had been. He tilted his head slightly. Under the burgundy curls, a delicate face came into view. The faint frown gave the woman a touch of seductiveness mixed with coldness. Yining never dreamed that he would have sex with such a stunning beauty, and the key point is that he still doesn't know her name. Yining is 25 years old this year. With only an ordinary bachelor's degree, he graduated and entered an advertising company in Zhangcheng to work in a sales position. After 3 years of hard work, he finally took the position of sales leader, which is not bad. But just yesterday, he accidentally bumped into his boss meeting someone in the office. The boss was afraid that the matter would be revealed, and he actually directly fired Yining. His girlfriend of 2 years also resolutely broke up with him after learning that he had been fired from the company. Yining, who was heartbroken, went to a bar to get drunk last night, and met this mysterious and beautiful woman. Taking advantage of the alcohol, the two of them chatted and then went to a hotel and had passionate sex. After a crazy night, he was half drunk and half awake and didn't really get a good look at the woman's appearance. Now he realized that someone could be this beautiful. She was like a glass of mellow red wine with ice, burning hot and seductive. "Little brother, do you like what you see?" Yining, lost in his thoughts, was startled by this seductive voice. He then noticed that the woman was looking at him with teasing eyes. She stretched out her white arms to wrap around Yining's neck, leaning against him. Her long hair fell over her shoulders, and her ice-cold red lips looked like ripe peaches, making one want to kiss them. This woman is really beautiful. Good, it's good looking. Yining was slightly stunned. Giggle, that's good. It can be seen that the woman is very satisfied with Yining's answer, at least she is smiling happily now. Feeling the soft and delicate body of the woman, he inhaled the fragrance of roses on her. A burst of passion exploded within Yining. He wrapped his arms around her slender waist and once again fell into ecstasy amidst the sounds of gasps. An hour later, the woman walked out of the bathroom wearing a long red dress. She stared at Yining, who was sitting on the bed, and her mouth curled up slightly. "Little brother, is sister leaving?" "Wait." Yining was about to speak when the woman interrupted him. "Little brother, didn't we agree last night that we wouldn't ask each other our names, and that after today, we would just pretend that nothing had happened?" After saying this, the woman kissed Yining on the cheek, picked up her handbag, and turned to leave. Yining stroked the wet lipstick mark on his cheek and was lost in thought. Could it be that his fate with this woman had come to an end? Ding! The system has detected the host's strong will and has begun to bind. It was actually the system. Yining's eyes welled up with tears. After reading so many novels, it was finally his turn. "System, tell me what functions you have." This system is a cashback system. As long as the host consumes, they can get 2 to 10 times the cashback reward. If the host consumes for a woman, there is a probability of getting a critical strike reward. The rewards come from legitimate sources, so the host does not need to worry. There are many rewards, so the host should consume as soon as possible. I see, it seems pretty simple. Yining then got ready to get up and go out to test it. When getting dressed, the bright red on the bedsheet was particularly glaring. Yining's expression was slightly dazed, and he muttered in his mouth, "So that was her first time, but why?" He shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He knew that it was useless to think about it anymore. With the system, everything would be solved once he became rich. Leaving the hotel, Yining first went to a small shop and loudly said to the owner, "Bottle of mineral water, please." Ding! The host has spent 2 yuan, triggering a 5x cashback, with a reward of 10 yuan. Within moments, Yining received a message informing him that the cashback had been credited to his account. "Aha, I'm rich." Yining couldn't help but laugh out loud. The supermarket owner stared at Yining with a strange expression for a long time. "You've become rich just by buying a 2 yuan bottle of water? Is he crazy?" The owner shook his head slowly until Yining's figure had disappeared. Sigh. What a pity, going crazy at such a young age. Yining jogged towards the largest commercial center in Zhangcheng. Since the distance was not far, it took less than 5 minutes to reach the outskirts of the commercial district. Turning the corner, he heard a cry of ouch. A sweet smell came at him. So soft. This was Yining's first impression. I'm sorry. Only then did Ji Ning get a good look at the girl who had bumped into him. The girl was not short, almost 1.7 meters tall. Her fair skin made her small face look even more delicate, and at least in appearance she was on a par with the demoness from last night. Of course, the most eye-catching thing was that this girl really had a lot going for her. At the moment, she was still holding a mobile phone in her hand, and it looked like she was an anchor. I'm the one who should say sorry, I apologize to you. Yi Ning is not an unreasonable person. If he hadn't been in such a hurry and run all the way, he probably wouldn't have bumped into anyone. Besides, this girl took the initiative to apologize, and she seems like a nice person. Are you okay? Upon hearing Yi Ning's words, Su Wire looked up. When she saw Yi Ning's appearance, her heart trembled. Wow! So tall. So handsome. Chapter 2 deposits exceeded 2 million. I have to say, as a student from an aviation university, handsome guys and beautiful girls are commonplace. But to meet someone as handsome as Yi Ning, I'm still a little excited just thinking about it. Did I hurt you anywhere? Yi Ning saw that the girl was not speaking and asked again. No. Su Weier's face flushed as she hurriedly shook her head. She had actually been so mesmerized by the handsome guy that she had been caught red-handed. That's fine. Yi Ning nodded, and I'll go first. Well, okay. At the moment, Su Weier didn't even notice that her live broadcast room had already turned into a madhouse. Wow! The young man is so handsome, I'm so excited. Don't fight upstairs, I'm also excited. Oh my god. Weier is falling for him. It's over, my wife is going to leave me for someone else. Weier, good looks are overrated, interesting souls are hard to come by. Look at me, stop staring at the handsome guy. Yi Ning went to the first floor of the shopping mall and entered the Versace boutique directly. Sir, what style of clothes do you like? I can recommend something for you. A young saleswoman came over with a smile when she saw Yi Ning walk in. Although Yi Ning was dressed in ordinary clothes, as salespeople for a world-famous brand, they were naturally professionally trained and would not show their thoughts, no matter what they were. Help me find a casual set, probably around 30,000 yuan would be fine. In fact, Yi Ning also wanted to buy more, because the more you spend, the more cash back you get. But unfortunately, there was only 30,000 yuan in his bag, which was not enough. Hearing Yi Ning's words, the saleswoman's eyes lit up. She didn't expect this handsome guy, who looked good and was dressed in ordinary clothes, to be quite wealthy. She immediately replied, Yes, sir, please follow me. The saleswoman followed Yi Ning to the second floor, where there were significantly more clothing styles than on the first floor. After a while, the saleswoman came back with a set of clothes. Sir, what do you think of this set? Yi Ning nodded, feeling pretty good about it. He took the clothes and went into the fitting room. When Yi Ning came out, the saleswoman's eyes were shining. This is so handsome. Yi Ning was also very satisfied when he looked at himself in the mirror. It is said that people rely on clothing and horses rely on saddles. Putting this on instantly improves one's appearance. How much is this set? The original price of this set is 31,800, and now it is 30,210 after a 5% discount. Luckily, it is just a few hundred more than the budget. Okay, cut the tag and I'll take this set. Okay, sir, please come over here to pay. The saleswoman was delighted. With a sales volume of over 30,000 yuan, she could still get a good commission. Ding! Congratulations, you have spent 30,210 yuan, triggering an 8x cashback, and earning 241,680 yuan in rewards. It was actually an 8x cashback, and 240,000 yuan was in his hands. Awesome! The speed at which he was getting money was truly unparalleled. Next, Yi Ning went to Vacheron Constantin. He had long been eyeing a watch, but due to financial pressure, he simply couldn't afford it before. After all, it was a luxury item that cost nearly 200,000 yuan, which was beyond Yi Ning's previous imagination. But now he had no concerns at all, and if he liked it, he would buy it. Let's get this one. Wrap it up for me. Yi Ning pointed at a men's watch that cost 199,800 yuan. Sir, won't you try it on first? The salesperson was a little flustered. This was the first time she had seen someone glance at an item and then directly ask to pay for it. This is 199,800 yuan, not 19.8 yuan. No, where do I pay? Yining then pointed to another women's watch and said, "Pack that up too, I'll pay for both." Although the women's watch was much cheaper, it was still over 30,000 yuan. Over 200,000 yuan, just like that? Okay, I'll print out the receipt for you now. The salesperson suppressed her excitement, her hands trembling slightly as she packed the watches. Ding! Congratulations, you have spent 238,600, triggering a 10x cashback, and you will receive 2,386,000 cash rewards. When Yining paid, the salesperson accidentally saw Yining's text message. His pupils shrank. How much is this? So many zeros. Young and rich, good looking. This is really attractive. Sir, can I add a contact method? In the future, you can contact me before you come shopping, and I will prepare it for you. The saleswoman threw a flirtatious glance and plucked up the courage to say. If it had been him before, he might have added it. But Yining, who had met two superb beauties in 2 days and even eaten one of them, still had no problem with his concentration. Although the female saleswoman was also considered quite good-looking, she was far inferior to those two. Forget it, I still have things to do, let's talk about it later. Yining left a dashing figure, leaving the female saleswoman alone and pining. With over 2 million yuan in his pocket, Yining certainly wasn't going to enjoy it himself. Just as he was agonizing over what to buy his parents and sister, a woman's voice interrupted his thoughts. Yining, it's you, what's up? Chasing after our little man here? Seeing the person coming, Yining's expression slightly tightened and then turned indifferent. Jana, it's you, and, He-Man, hello. Chapter 3 Ex-Girlfriend. He-Man, Yining's ex-girlfriend, is the woman he was with for 2 years. For 2 years, he could be said to have been attentive to every detail of He-Man's life. Whatever He-Man wanted, Yining tried his best to satisfy. It can be said that after 3 years of work, 70% of his salary was spent on this woman. Even so, when He-Man found out that he had lost his job, what she got in return was not care, but an emotionless breakup. Not even a chance to make things right was given. As for Zhao Na, she is He-Man's best friend. Although she is plain in appearance, she has a cheerful personality and is quite nice. She was the first to know about He-Man's breakup with Yining. When she suddenly met Yining, she thought he had come to reconcile with He-Man. He-Man thought the same when she saw Yining. She ignored Yining's greetings and, after giving him a disgusted look, turned her gaze in another direction. Zhao Na saw that the atmosphere was a bit awkward and wanted to change the subject to something else. Suddenly, she saw Yining carrying a Vacheron Constantin bag. Wow! Yining, Vacheron Constantin. You've really splashed out this time. Zhao Na's eyes lit up. Show me, what did you buy? He-Man heard Zhao Na's exclamation and turned her head in confusion. Yining, Vacheron Constantin? Those two words would never go together, would they? Although He-Man, didn't have it, she knew clearly. The prices of the contents of Vacheron Constantin were outrageous. Any one of the goods was worth 5 digits. In particular, the mechanical watches ranged from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands, or even millions. How could Yining, who had lost his job, afford such luxury goods? Upon thinking of this, He-Man looked at Yining disdainfully and then said, Yining, I never noticed before, when did you become so hypocritical? Hypocritical? Me? Yining pointed at himself, puzzled. Seeing that Yining did not refute, He-Man raised her proud neck and said haughtily, Do you think you can really afford it just by taking a handbag that no one else wants? Do you know what this is? This is Vacheron Constantin. A luxury item that costs tens of thousands of dollars. Can you afford it? Trying to win me back with an empty bag? I'm telling you, it's impossible. Seeing He-Man in a triumphant pose, Yining felt that he had really been blind in the past. Otherwise, why would he have found such a girlfriend, and the key point was that he had put up with her for 2 years. Yining's eyes hardened as he said, He-Man, don't flatter yourself. I have never meant to get back together with you. Besides, whether I can afford Vacheron Constantin or not has nothing to do with you. After saying this, Yining walked forward, not wanting to argue with He-Man anymore. Ha, you've been exposed, haven't you? Yining, don't you know what standard of living you live in? You have no ambition at all, and you're so fake. I was blind when I fell for you. Just as He-Man was about to say something, the Vacheron Constantin saleswoman came running over. Panting, she said, Sir, wait a minute, you forgot your receipt. If you need to return or exchange the watch, you need the receipt. The sudden change in tone made Man look shocked, and even Zhao Na's mouth fell open in disbelief. In particular, the amount of more than 200,000 yuan clearly printed on the receipt was so conspicuous. It was like a sharp knife stabbing Man in the eye, it hurt so much. Beauty, have you made a mistake? How could he afford to buy a Vacheron Constantin watch? Man smiled very reluctantly and couldn't help but ask. How could I make a mistake? This gentleman just bought 2 watches, one for a man and one for a woman, 5 minutes ago. I even served him. The saleswoman explained with a smile. And not to mention our Vacheron Constantin watches, the clothes on this gentleman are worth tens of thousands of dollars. As a Vacheron Constantin salesperson, she is familiar with luxury goods. How could she not recognize the Versace logo? What? Man was shocked. Just now she thought Yining's clothes were quite good looking, and they were completely different from Yining's previous attire. Now that she looks closely, it's Versace. The question is, where did he get so much money? But none of this matters, she just needs to get back together with Yining, and all of this will be hers. She doesn't believe that after just a couple of days, Yining will have no feelings for her. Besides, didn't the salesgirl say it? Yining bought 2 watches, one for a man and one for a woman. The woman's watch must be for her to win him back. Yes, that must be it. Thinking this, Man pretended to be coquettish and said, Yining, why didn't you tell me you bought me such a valuable thing? Really annoying. As she spoke, Man held out her right hand and said, hurry up and put it on for me, I forgive you. Yining didn't expect Man to be so strange. This woman is also too self-righteous. But the next moment, Yining thought of something and directly took out the box containing the women's watch from the bag. When Man saw this, she was overjoyed and her face was filled with a joyful smile. Sure enough. If I lend a little hand, Yining will lick me like a dog. Yining didn't care what Man thought and directly handed the watch to Zhao Na. Here, this is a gift for you, thank you for helping me so much in the past. Man was shocked. He actually wanted to give the watch to Zhao Na and not to himself. Zhao Na was also a little confused. She glanced at Man's expression and hesitated, saying, Here, is it for me? Of course, take it. Yining said generously. No, this is too valuable, I can't take it. It's okay, I've wanted to thank you for a long time, and I never knew what to buy, so this will do. Yining forced the watch into Zhao Na's hands. The next moment. Ding! The host is a female consumer spending 38,800 yuan, triggering a 100x critical strike cashback of 3,492,000 yuan. It was actually a 100x critical strike. But why wasn't it 3,880,000 yuan? Oh, it turns out that the 380,000 odd yuan from the tenfold cashback just now was also deducted. The system really doesn't give any bugs. But now that I suddenly have nearly 6 million in savings, it's still pretty cool. This watch was really worth giving away. Just then, a girl holding a cell phone appeared in the aisle. She kept reading something out loud as she walked. Chapter 4, Giving Away the Watch. This was the second time today that Yining had encountered Su Weier, but he was still amazed by her appearance. She didn't need to put much effort into her appearance, she just needed to stand there and she would be the most beautiful sight. Many people around her also stopped because of Su Weier's appearance. It wasn't that Yining had to have something happen with this beauty, but just looking at her from afar was already very pleasing to the eye. Go! Get me another lady's watch, one that costs about 200,000 yuan. Yining suddenly said to the saleswoman who had not yet left. Okay, just a moment, sir. The saleswoman was pleasantly surprised. She didn't expect to get a small ticket and a bonus. Man naturally heard Yining's words as well, and was so excited that she almost jumped up and down. No wonder he felt he got a bargain when he gave that watch to his best friend. He really. I'm going to die of laughter. We'll ask him for less for the marriage gift then, just 3 million plus a 200 square meter house. In less than a minute, the saleswoman from earlier came with another slightly older woman. The saleswoman was carrying a large box in her hands, which contained about a dozen mechanical watches for women. Sir, I am Tu Min, the manager of the Vacheron Constantin boutique. Do you like any of these styles? Well, which one is the most expensive? Yining felt that they all looked similar, so he asked directly for the most expensive one. The price will go up, so it won't be bad. Let's go with this one then. Two men pointed to a watch with a pastel-colored movement. This is a new product from our brand, and it's also a limited edition. At this time, Su Weier came nearby with her phone in her hand, less than 5 meters away from Yining. Naturally, she recognized Yining as the handsome young man she had bumped into outside not long ago. She wanted to go up and say hello, but seeing so many people, she decided not to. "Young anchor, come here." As Su Weier pretended to walk past as if nothing had happened, Yining waved at her. "Are you calling me?" "I didn't call your mom, I called you." Puff Su Weier was amused and came over to Yining. "I didn't expect you to be quite so humorous. Go ahead, tell me what you want." "Here, put it on her," Yining said to the female store manager. "Huh? Oh, okay." Even though she was the store manager and had seen wealthy people before, she had never seen anything like this. From Yining's conversation with the anchor, it was clear that the two of them might know each other but definitely were not familiar with each other. "Is it really okay to just give her a watch worth more than 200,000 yuan? If you don't want it, you can give it to me." Su Weier's head was spinning, and she only came back to her senses when she felt the coldness in her hands. "Well, it suits you quite well," Yining said with satisfaction. This was not a joke, but the watch really looked good on Su Weier's hand. "You have excellent taste, sir. This watch really suits the lady. And the lady is so pretty that the watch complements her perfectly." The female shop manager has excellent taste and kept praising Su Weier. "Ha ha ha, indeed. Let's pay with your credit card." Yining directly handed over his bank card. Wait, what's going on?" Su Weier was still in a daze. "Why are you so stupid, can't you even understand this?" Yining smiled faintly and said, "It's a gift." "What? A gift?" Seeing Su Weier's dumbfounded expression, Yining felt a little amused. Meanwhile, Man's face turned pale. "Yining, what do you mean?" She couldn't help but ask. "What do you mean?" Yining sneered. "What, you don't think I would give you such a valuable thing, do you? Do you know what brand this is? It's called Vacheron Constantin. It's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Do you think you deserve it?" Yining's words pierced Man's heart like sharp ice needles. "Yining, you bastard!" Man roared. "Get out! Leave me alone!" Yining was impatient. He didn't want to have anything more to do with this kind of woman. Finally, Jana looked at Yining apologetically and dragged Man, who was about to cry, away. After the two had gone far away, two men came over and handed Yining the receipt. "Sir, it's 268,000 in total. Here's your receipt, please keep it." Yining took the receipt and handed it to Su Weier. No, it's not possible, this is really too expensive." Su Weier shook her head while trying to take off the watch. Although she also liked the watch very much, it was worth more than 200,000 yuan. Coming from an ordinary family, she had never seen so much money before. More than 200,000 yuan, and with a little more, she could pay the down payment on an apartment in Jiangcheng. She dared not accept such a thing, not to mention from someone she had only met today and didn't even know her name. She had graduated from flight attendant school, but instead of taking the path of a flight attendant, she became a small anchor. It was because the leader of the airline threatened her and wanted to get something from her. She refused to compromise her integrity, and that's why she was kicked out of the program. Now someone has given her such an expensive gift, it's hard to believe Yining doesn't have any ulterior motives. In fact, she's not wrong. Faced with such a beautiful woman with a near-perfect figure and appearance, Yining is of course very tempted. But Yining would never do anything to force someone, and he would only do it if the other person is willing. "It's okay." Yining stopped Su Weier's movements and said, "Wear it, just promise me one condition later." Chapter 5 Critical Strike Reward, Zhengnan Commercial Street. "Ah. No, absolutely not, you really are a bad person." Yining knew from the look on her face that Su Weier had been thinking too much, and immediately explained, "Don't think too much, I'm just asking you to help me think about what I should buy my family as a gift." "That's it?" Su Weier looked suspicious. "That's it. Really?" Su Weier still didn't quite believe it. Yining's mouth curled up. "Why? You seem quite disappointed? Or do you hope for more than this?" Knowing that Yining was teasing her, Su Weier blushed and stammered to deny it. No, you're a bad person." Ding. The host is a female consumer, triggering a critical strike. Congratulations to the host for obtaining ownership of Jiangnan Commercial Street.
Jiangnan Commercial Street. Isn't that where you're shopping right now?
And the Jiangnan Building and Jiangnan Hotel at the end of the commercial street also fall within the scope of Jiangnan Commercial Street. Altogether, it is worth nearly 3 billion yuan. Yi Ning stared at Su Wire with burning eyes.
This woman is his lucky star. What are you doing?
Su Wire said timidly.
Yi Ning laughed, stepping forward. What can I do? We agreed that you can't.
Su Wire buried her head very low, her ears tingling.
Damn it. It's the feeling of being moved. Yi Ning didn't dare tease her anymore. This woman was too lethal. What are you thinking about? Aren't you going to help me make a decision? Hurry up and go.
Oh, okay.
Su Wire raised her head again. My name is Su Wire, what's your name?
The two of them shopped for nearly 2 hours, and Yi Ning spent almost 1 million before they had bought everything.
He bought jewelry and cosmetics for Ye's mother.
As for Yi, he got a few bottles of good wine. As Yi Xiaoguo was about to take the college entrance exam, Yi Ning bought her a watch as well, which was more practical. However, this time, no critical strike was triggered, and only about 5 million yuan in cash was returned.
Now Yi Ning's savings have reached 10 million yuan.
This is 10 million yuan in cash, and there are definitely not many people in Jiangcheng who can come up with this much cash flow.
Not to mention that Yi Ning also has the entire Jiangnan Commercial Street.
After today's shopping spree, he has directly entered the ultra-high net worth class. After buying the gifts, Yi Ning also invited Su Wire to lunch.
After exchanging contact information, the two left separately.
Yi Ning went to the end of the commercial street alone. Looking up at the luxurious Jiangnan Hotel in front of him, a sense of grandeur arose in his heart.
From today onwards, this place would be his property. Book me a presidential suite.
Yi Ning took out his ID card and said to the receptionist.
Okay, sir, just a moment.
The receptionist took the ID card and her face paled.
She glanced at Yi Ning in a flash.
His pupils dilated several times over in an instant.
Mr. Yi is here.
The receptionist girl bowed respectfully. Seeing this, the other girls also greeted Yi Ning.
You recognize me? Yi Ning asked a very stupid question.
Of course, manager Wu already sent us your photo this morning.
Okay, then ask the manager to come over. Okay, Mr. Yi. Less than 2 minutes.
A middle-aged man from the Mediterranean hurriedly walked from the elevator. Hello, Mr. Yi, I am Wu Yuan, the general manager of the Jiangnan Hotel. Welcome to guide our work.
Hello.
Yi Ning shook Wu Yuan's hand slightly. I don't have much to guide, I just came here to rest today.
Although there are rental houses, they are really far from the city center.
But there is no way, the rent in the suburbs is much cheaper.
Now he is too lazy to go back. There is a hotel, why live in a rental house? Okay, Mr. Yi, there is a presidential suite in the hotel that is exclusively for you. I will take you there now.
Yi Ning and Wu Yuan just got into the elevator, and the lobby on the first floor instantly exploded.
Our new boss is really handsome, I thought the morning photos were photoshopped. What kind of girl does a young and handsome man like Mr. Yi like?
Let's not think about it, Mr. Yi must have come from a big family, at least he has to be from a good family, right?
Ahem.
The lobby manager came over and reminded her not to talk about Mr. Yi behind his back. But as she spoke, she also directed her gaze towards the elevator.
Mr. Yi, you really are very handsome.
Following Wu Yuan to the top floor, there was only one office and one suite, both of which were exclusive to the boss, Yi Ning. This is your room, with panoramic floor-to-ceiling windows and a total area of more than 200 square meters. Yi Ning surveyed the surroundings, and the impression the entire suite gave him was summed up in 2 words, high-end and elegant.
Not bad. Yi Ning praised appropriately.
Wu Yuan let out a sigh of relief and a smile appeared on his face. General Yi, you can rest first, if you need anything, just use the phone on the nightstand.
Okay, you go ahead.
After Wu Yuan left the room, Yi Ning lay heavily on the wide bed.
It feels great. This is the life. The days of working day and night and not having any money in his pocket are finally over.
Now he just needs to enjoy life.
However, there is one thing Yi Ning has never forgotten.
That is his supervisor, Wei Jia, who fired him. Originally, he had left that company and had no more contact with Wei Jia, but who called Su Wire the European emperor? Jiangnan Commercial Street is not just a commercial street, but also Jiangnan Hotel and Jiangnan Building. The place where Yi Ning used to work happens to be. Chapter 6 Watching Su Wire's live broadcast. After dinner and a shower, Yi Ning opened his phone and directly transferred 1 million yuan to his mother's card. Less than half a minute later, he indeed received a call from his mother. "Son, why did you transfer so much money to me? Where did you get so much money?" Yi Ma's tone was anxious. Although she knew that her son would definitely not do anything reckless, the sudden influx of a huge sum of money still took her by surprise. Yi Ning's parents were both farmers, and they worked hard all their lives before they could buy a 3-bedroom house in the county town. Even so, they were considered to be doing well. Because there were still many old neighbors in the townships, they simply couldn't afford to buy commercial housing. They could only live in self-built houses in the countryside for their whole lives. 1 million, that's a huge sum of money. Mom and Dad have never seen so much money before. Mom, don't worry, you don't know your son yet. After I graduated, I worked while running a business with my classmates. Now the business is picking up, and everyone has received a good share of the profits. Yi Ning made up a lie. What else could he say? He couldn't tell them about the system, because no one would believe him. Besides, he was now the owner of Jiangnan Commercial Street, so it wasn't entirely wrong to say that he was running a business. Okay, my son can make money. Ye's mother sounded proud. Mom will help you save the money, and save it for when you marry off your daughter. It's okay, Mom. You and Dad can keep the flowers, and I'll transfer the money to you when you run out. That won't do. Mom and Dad are getting old, and they don't need much money. Your younger sister is going to college and will need a lot of money. Ye's mother spoke with determination. Yi Ning also knew that his parents had been saving all their lives and were not the kind of people to spend money recklessly. There was nothing he could do but nod in agreement. The mother and son talked for more than half an hour before hanging up. Yi Ning looked out at the night view of the river, and his heart was filled with thoughts of his family. It's been almost a year since I last went home, I'll go home and see them in a few days. Yi Ning was browsing videos when a friend's circle post caught his eye. It turned out to be from the little anchor he had added today, Su Wire, who was posting her broadcast information in her friend circle. Yi Ning, who was curious, decisively downloaded Feiyu Live and created an account. On the Feiyu platform, Wire's live broadcast room was very quiet. The world of anchors is very competitive. Although Su Wire's singing wasn't bad, there were many people in today's society who could sing. Plus, Su Wire doesn't want to wear revealing clothes, so it's really hard to attract traffic. Click into the live broadcast room and click on the upper right corner to follow. Bosses who think the anchor sings pretty well can send some gifts to support the little anchor? Staring at the live broadcast data on the screen, Su Wire is also very helpless. It's been almost 2 months since the broadcast started, and not only has she not earned any money, she has spent a lot of money on buying equipment, decorating the background wall, etc. When she thinks about the rent she has to pay soon, Su Wire feels like she can't hold on any longer. During her years at university, she had attracted many wealthy suitors thanks to her top-notch figure and appearance. Some bosses even explicitly said they would pay for Su Wire, but she, who was a stickler for integrity, never agreed. Her background was indeed not good, but she didn't want to lose what was most precious to her because of money. Hey, the little anchor is so pitiful, but I really don't have any money, so I'll just send some free little flowers. I'm not in bad shape, but I'm a staunch member of the Free Party, and no one can change that. Upstairs, it's not just you, we're all members of the Free Party. When Yi Ning clicked into the live broadcast room and saw that there were only a dozen people inside, he immediately felt sorry for Su Wire. Welcome to Ninggu tonight, and welcome boss, can you click follow in the upper right corner? Yi Ning decisively clicked follow. Thank you Ninggu boss for your attention. Su Wire saw that the number of comments in the live broadcast room suddenly increased. Has the host been baited? Ha ha ha, the host is so stupid, she fell for it. I like the clueless host, I'll follow him. You're right, the host is quite good looking, I hope she's not like Granny Chow. The host is not only good looking, she also sings well, but her dancing. Well, I'd better not say anything. Dancing? Yi Ning's eyes lit up. Could Su Wire dance? Ninggu tonight, the host is dancing, I'll send you gifts. Party of free sex, did you see that, host? I told you to dance. Great sage coming grandpa, run. The host is dancing.
Peeling your toenails while cooking, forget it, it's a new account, there aren't that many gifts, not even free little flowers. Sue Wire also felt that it was a barrage of lies, so she said, Boss Ninggu, I'd rather sing, Little Wire sings pretty well. Yi Ning saw this and smiled slightly, and topped up her account with 100,000 yuan. Ding! The host has spent 100,000 yuan and received 4 times the cashback, 400,000 yuan in cashback. 400,000 yuan was credited to her account. This money came too quickly. Then she quickly bought a rocket worth 500 yuan and said again, Anchor, dance for us. A rocket effect floated by, and all the water friends in the live broadcast room came out all at once. Wow! The boss is generous. I was wrong. The boss is confused. Anchor, dance quickly, your big brother is here. Sue Ware's heart was pounding as she saw the rocket effect. This was the first time she had received such a big gift in the 2 months she had been streaming. In the past, the most valuable gift was a 100 ruble plane, but that boss had just sent 2 planes and then asked for Sue Ware's contact information. The private messages also contained all kinds of colorful language, and the dirty thoughts were clear at a glance. Although Sue Ware was occasionally dazed, she was not stupid. She knew that this person who had sent rockets the first time they watched her livestream must be quite well off. Although she did not know the person's innermost thoughts, at least she had to maintain a good relationship with this boss named Yi Ninggu for now. Okay, boss Yi Ninggu, since you want to watch, Ware will dance for you. Chapter 7 100,000 rewards. In order to dance, Sue Ware even went out of her way to change into a Hanfu outfit. Yi Ning stared at the screen at Sue Ware's pretty face and enjoyed himself. But the next second he didn't feel like it anymore. The reason was none other than Sue Ware's dance moves were just too explosive. Not to mention the fact that they were too different from dance, they could be said to be completely unrelated. But it attracted a huge wave of comments. Ha, Ninggu big guy, do you regret it? I was already going to the bathroom, and you showed me this? Challenge to break the ice for 365 days, day 1. If you say this is dancing, I don't believe you, but if you say it's lion dance, I believe you. Holy cow, the anchor is dancing the lion dance online, who cares if you manage it or not? Yi Ning was dumbfounded as the long 2.5 minutes finally passed. The dance moves were indeed stiff, but at least the show had a full effect, and the live broadcast room became more popular than before. Occasionally, small fish balls gifted by. Others floated by. Yi Ning clicked on the gift interface. Ninggu was giving away Super Fire *1 tonight. Ninggu was giving away Super Fire *2 tonight. Ninggu was giving away Super Fire *3 tonight. Ninggu was giving away Super Fire *10 tonight. 10 Super Fires. A total value of 20,000 yuan. The boss of Ninggu is generous, and he doesn't even bat an eyelid at 20,000 yuan. The boss of Ninggu is confused. Where is the value of 20,000 yuan in the little anchor's dance? Does the boss still need a pendant? I'm a 200-pound big pendant, I only need 20,000 yuan, I'll break my thigh for you. Sue Wire was also shocked by this endless stream of super effective special effects. Then a smile of joy spread across her face. The gift of 20,000 yuan was half of the prize money, and she would still get 10,000 yuan in salary, so she would have no problem paying the rent next month. Could this really be her lucky day? In the morning, Yi Ning had given her a watch worth more than 200,000 yuan, and in the evening, the boss of this company, Tonight Ninggu, had given her a gift of 20,000 yuan. Wait a minute. Sue Wire seemed to have sensed something. Tonight Ninggu. The middle 2 characters of that is Yi Ning. Sue Wire quickly took out her phone and asked on WeChat, Yi Ning, is that you? Yi Ning, who was already in bed, saw Sue Ware's message and a smile appeared in her eyes. It seems that the young anchor is not that dull. Well, I'll come and browse when I see your circle of friends. Thank you for coming to see me, but forget about sending gifts, it's a waste of money. Sue Ware is not one of those naive young girls. She knows that in this society, 20,000 yuan is more than many people can earn in a few months. But she didn't know that Yi Ning was earning money just by spending it. It's okay, it's just a little money, just think of it as watching the lion dance. Sue Ware gritted her teeth in anger when she saw this message. Humph. You're the one who asked for it, you big bad guy, and now you're mocking me, damn it. Okay, don't be angry, I'll treat you to dinner next time. Although she said this, Sue Ware was still a little moved. She just posted a status update on WeChat as usual, and Yi Ning really came to watch her live on the broadcast platform and even sent her so many gifts. Does he really want to be intimate with her? This thought popped into her head, and it shocked Su Wei. Blushes instantly climbed up her slender neck and cheeks. The anchor's face turned red after looking at her phone. What on earth happened? I'm curious too. It can't be a private message from Boss Ninggu, can it? It must be. Oh no, the anchor's heart fluttered. I've fallen in love. Upstairs, don't get emotionally attached to the internet, it's all illusory. Do I love the anchor? I love the Ninggu big guy. Oh, it turns out she's a girl. As long as the Ninggu big guy likes it, I can also be a girl, shy. Tonight, Ninggu, against the heavens. There were really a lot of silly netizens, and the comments were flying all over the place. Su Wei sang a few more songs afterwards, and Yining felt that they were really good, so he directly spent all the remaining tens of thousands of dollars in his account. This series of actions attracted the worship of all the netizens. He even received private messages from many other anchors, asking Yining to also go to their live broadcast rooms and have a look. Yining of course ignored this, as he didn't know any of the other anchors, and if there really was a dinosaur behind the camera, wouldn't that be a loss? Yiningu, I'm too tired of sending gifts, so I'll stop for today. Let's have dinner together some other time. Yining posts the last comment on the public screen. After a short silence in the broadcast room, it immediately erupts. Is this what it means to be rich? I'm so tired of sending gifts. I want to be tired too, but I can't afford to. Are you guys not paying attention? The big guy is going to have dinner with the host. So what? The big guy sent 100,000 gifts. Isn't it normal to have dinner? This time it's dinner, next time it could be sex. Oh no, my little Wei Ji is really turning into a little Wei Air. Damn, the guy upstairs is so awesome. Yining had just put down his phone when he received an unfamiliar call. Yining, hello? Hello, Mr. Yi, this is Sun Tao, the person in charge of Jiangnan Building. Do you have time to come by recently? There are some documents that need your signature. Okay, I'll come by tomorrow morning. Yining had planned to go to Jiangnan Building tomorrow. When he worked at Hongda Advertising Company, Wei Jia had caused Yining trouble for various reasons. In the end, he was fired because Yining caught him meeting his mistress. I wonder what expression Wei Jia will have when I see him tomorrow. Yining sways the wine glass, the corners of his mouth curling up in a cold smile. Chapter 8 Wei Jia's Fear. The following morning, Yining arrived at Jiangnan Building early. Yining was very familiar with the place, having worked here for 3 years. Jiangnan Building had 33 floors, with the 30th to 33rd floors managed independently by Jiangnan Building. The 2nd to 29th floors were all rented out to major enterprises in Zhengcheng as office space. Before being fired, Yining worked as a salesperson at Hongda Advertising and was later promoted to sales team leader due to his outstanding performance. However, due to a grudge with the sales supervisor Wei Jia, and the fact that Wei Jia was also the boss's nephew, he did not hesitate to fire Yining. Now his status has completely changed, and Yining is no longer the miserable worker, and can even decide the fate of Hongda Advertising Company with just one sentence. It can only be said that the wheel of fortune turns. Although it is not yet normal working hours, the receptionist has already arrived at the company. When she saw Yining walk in the door, she immediately stood up. Hello, Mr. Yi. Well, hello. Yining nodded in acknowledgement. It seems that Sun Tao, like Wu Yuan, had already informed the staff below him of his arrival. Where is Sun Tao? Yining asked, as he sat down in the corner. The receptionist poured him a cup of freshly brewed tea as she replied, Manager Sun hasn't arrived yet, so you may have to wait a little longer. That's fine, I'll wait here. Yining picked up a magazine and told her to go about her work, not to worry about him. Okay, take your time, Mr. Yi. After waiting for almost 10 minutes, Sun Tao still hadn't arrived, but Wei Jia appeared on the first floor of the building. And the first thing he saw was Yining, who was flipping through a magazine, and he sauntered over. What a coincidence! Oh, I thought I was mistaken, but it really is you, Team Leader Yi. Wei Jia looked pleased with himself. Then he changed the subject. Oh no, I remembered it wrong, you're no longer the sales team leader, you've been fired. Yining glanced at Wei Jia and said, You look very pleased with yourself? Of course I am, because my uncle said I will soon be promoted to department director, and can you still find a job that pays 3,000 yuan a month? Wei Jia did not do well in his studies in his early years and did not even get into college.
He only started attending an adult evening school after he started working. He looked down on college graduates from the bottom of his heart. Do those college graduates who have graduated for a few years earn more than him? Just like Yi Ning now, he is a complete loser. Wei Jia didn't consider for a moment that without the help of his relatives, Wei Jia would be doing God knows what.
You know what? My uncle and I have already made an appointment with the new owner of this building. After the deal is done, my position will be elevated. What a shame. Why am I talking so much to a loser like you? We're not even on the same level.
Wei Jia shook his head and made a regretful expression. He didn't notice that Yi Ning's gaze had become strange.
New owner? Deal? When did this happen? How come I didn't know about it?
Wei Jia, I advise you to go back. The cooperation you've been thinking about is falling apart. Yi Ning said slowly, it's better to find a new office space sooner rather than later, otherwise it'll be funny to become a dog of sorrow.
Ha ha ha.
Wei Jia heard Yi Ning's words and sneered, who do you think you are?
Can you interfere with manager Sun Tao's decisions? Can you interfere? You can just ask him yourself, won't that be better?
As he spoke, Yi Ning pointed to the entrance. Sun Tao, wearing a dark suit and with a pot belly, walked in through the door. At the indication of the receptionist, he saw Yi Ning sitting in the lounge area first and came over without stopping. Wei Jia immediately changed to a flattering expression when he saw Sun Tao, the person in charge of the building. He extended his right hand. Hello, Manager Sun, I'm Wei Jia, the director of Hongda Advertising.
You can just call me Wei.
However, Sun Tao didn't pay any attention to him and walked straight up to Yi Ning. He bowed slightly and said, hello, President Yi, I'm sorry, I'm late. The words President Yi were like a huge stone, knocking Wei Jia off balance. His heart was in turmoil. Why? Why would the general manager of the prestigious Jiangnan building respectfully address Yi Ning as President Yi? Wei Jia trembled as he looked at the smiling Yi Ning, and even found it difficult to breathe. Who on earth are you? Although he had already guessed, he still refused to give up hope, clinging to a glimmer of hope. Please don't be the situation I've guessed. If it's true, then I'm finished. Yi Ning said with a calm face, I am the new owner of Jiangnan building, Yi Ning, as you call me. I wonder if Manager Wei is satisfied with this answer. No, it can't be. I don't believe it. Wei Jia shouted in a dazed state, Manager Sun, you tell me, this is a lie, this is a lie. Yes, Manager Sun, we met yesterday, we talked about cooperation, we talked about it. Wei Jia was like a headless fly, desperate to grasp at any shred of hope. But Sun Tao was no fool, and he had long since seen that Yi Ning and Wei Jia definitely did not get along. No matter what, he would not intercede for Wei Jia. Sun Tao. Yi Ning's tone was cold. Sun Tao's forehead was sweating. Did he really mean what he said? Did you really talk about any cooperation? Of course not. Sun Tao wiped his cheeks lightly. It's just that yesterday, the boss of Hongda came over with him and wanted to cooperate with us, but I didn't agree. So it didn't work out? Yes. Then why are you still letting him crow here non-stop? Don't you know that I'm very upset right now? Chapter 9 Buying a car with the young anchor. Sun Tao was already feeling uncomfortable after angering his new boss at their first meeting. When he looked at Wei Jia, the culprit, he wanted to kick him to death. Wei Jia, get the hell out of here. Give your uncle a message, the contract will expire at the end of this month, and tell him to move out of our Jiangnan building. Hearing Sun Tao's words, Wei Jia felt like the sky had fallen. No. Manager Sun, General Manager Yi. Give me another chance, don't kick us out. Wei Jia's pleas came one after the other. Seeing Yi Ning's dark face, Sun Tao made a decision immediately. Security guard. What are you looking at? Hurry up and drag this person out, he's an eyesore. Seeing Yi Ning's expression gradually return to normal, Sun Tao let out a sigh of relief. It seems that his position as general manager is safe. The boss of Hongda came looking for you behind me. You can handle it yourself, Yi Ning said calmly. Okay, Mr. Yi. If there are any companies in the building that cooperate with Hongda, tell them to cut ties with me as soon as possible, otherwise, get the hell out. Yes. After that, Yi Ning held a staff meeting in the conference room of the building. He raised the salaries of all the employees in the company by 20%. This move was well received by all the staff. Yi Ning didn't want to get involved in management in the first place, so he left the hard work to Sun Tao and the others. So for several days, he holed up in the hotel's luxury suite, living a life of leisure. After staying in the hotel for a few days, Yi Ning always felt that there was something missing. Although the hotel service was indeed good, it never felt like home. It was time to buy a car and a house. He did as he said, took out his phone and dialed the number of the young anchor Su Wire. Su Wire's mood had been pretty good these past few days. Since meeting Yi Ning, her luck seems to have improved. Nowadays, there are many more people watching her live broadcasts every day than before, and her career is gradually picking up. It's just that for some reason, she still feels a little empty in her heart after not seeing Yi Ning for a few days. She was very happy when she received Yi Ning's call, got up early to get dressed, and then took a ride to the place they had agreed to meet. Yi Ning, he. Su Wire patted Yi Ning on the shoulder as a greeting. Today, Su Wire was wearing a beige floral dress that showed off her slender legs and made her look exceptionally tall. Together with the delicate makeup on her face, she was truly stunning. Yi Ning was momentarily taken aback, but then her expression cleared. Although it was quick, Su Wire still noticed the momentary look of awe in Yi Ning's eyes. Su Wire's smile grew even wider. Yi Ning stood up. "You didn't have breakfast, did you? Here, I bought some more." "Thank you." Su Wire took the breakfast and took a sip of milk, saying, "By the way, what kind of car are you going to buy?" Su Wire has not studied cars or anything like that. But she knows that a rich person like Yi Ning will definitely not buy a cheap car. "A big one, right?" Hey, how can you swear in public?" Su Wire whispered to stop her. "Don't swear in public in the future, it looks very uncultured." Yi Ning. "Woman, you're not thinking straight." When they arrived at the Mercedes-Benz store, the several salespersons were amazed by the combination of Yi Ning and Su Wire. These two people are just too good-looking. Are they a fairy couple? Love at first sight. "Welcome to Mercedes-Benz, sir. Do you have a favorite model?" The store manager was the first to speak. Big G. Yi Ning hadn't finished speaking yet when he felt a slight pain in his waist. "What are you doing?" "Oops." Su Wire pouted, angry, and told you to behave. The manager looked at Su Wire strangely, then smiled again. "Yes, sir, we just got 2 GMs in today. Please follow me." Hearing the manager's words, Su Wire realized that the DG was actually the model of a car. Thinking about this, Su Wire blushed instantly, ashamed and unable to hold back her emotions. Especially when she saw Yi Ning staring at her with a teasing smile, she was even more infuriated. "Yi Ning, you big scoundrel." Su Wire gritted her teeth in anger. "Ha, who told you to react so cutely?" Yi Ning couldn't help but rub Su Wire's head. The soft hair smelled fresh and invigorating. Su Wire didn't expect Yi Ning to be so bold, but she wasn't angry at all. She even thought, "His hands feel so good. Wouldn't it be even better if he was touching my face?" Su Wire was shocked by her own thoughts, and she took a quick peek at Yi Ning, who was chatting with the store manager. Seeing that he hadn't noticed anything unusual about her, she let out a sigh of relief and patted her big, plump breasts. The three of them went to the Mercedes-Benz showroom, where there were only 2 cars. One was khaki and the other black. But without exception, they were all very luxurious and imposing. "Mr. Yi, this is the GAMG that was just delivered today. What do you think?" "Not bad. Can I drive it now?" "Of course. We can help you apply for the license plates." Hearing the manager's words, Yi Ning didn't hesitate. "Let's sign the contract. I'll take the black one." The manager was excited to see that Yi Ning had made up his mind so quickly. He said, "Very well, sir. I'll go prepare the contract right away." Ding! The host spent 3 million and received a 7-fold rebate, for a total of 21 million. Another 20 million has been deposited into my account. This is so cool. This was Yi Ning's first time driving a luxury car worth millions, so it was impossible for him not to be excited. But he was an old driver after all, and his driving skills were stable, so his expression remained calm. However, Su Wire was a different story. Sitting in the passenger seat, she touched this and that for a while, looking very happy. "So happy?" "Yeah, you think everyone is as rich as you, but I've never sat in a car worth millions." "Ha, I'll make you even happier later." Staring at Yi Ning's mischievous smile on his face, Su Wire's neck tensed slightly, and she looked down, grasping the corner of her shirt, feeling a little overwhelmed.
More happy? He wouldn't. Chapter 10 Critical Strike Reward, a Villa. Yi Ning drove, taking Su Weier to the Porsche store. Welcome to Porsche.
As the two of them got out of the car, a female shop assistant with a pretty face and dressed in professional attire walked quickly over. Even during training, the store manager repeatedly emphasized that they should not look at others through tinted glasses. However, salespeople like them would definitely consider a customer's purchasing power based on their appearance. A wealthy playboy like Yi Ning, who dressed in designer brands, drove a luxury car and was accompanied by a beautiful woman, was naturally the first choice for high-quality customers. However, he already had a girlfriend, and she was much more outstanding than Yi Ning in terms of appearance and temperament. Naturally, she had given up the idea of climbing up Yi Ning's social ladder.
Sir, is there any model you like?
The female salesperson asked softly, her voice like a gentle spring breeze.
Yi Ning, are you still looking to buy a car? Didn't you just buy one?
Su Weier tugged at the corner of Yi Ning's shirt and asked in a low voice. In her opinion, cars are for transportation, and having too many is a waste of money.
If Yi Ning knew Su Weier's thoughts, he would definitely argue back.
In his opinion, no matter how many good cars there are, he can drive them all.
This time, of course, it's for you.
From the beginning, Yi Ning had decided to buy Su Weier a car. First, he really had some feelings for Su Weier.
Second, he didn't lack money at all.
Third, there was a chance of getting a critical strike reward for spending money on a girl, especially if the girl was Su Weier.
The female clerk looked at Su Weier with envy after hearing this. This man was so handsome and still so generous to his girlfriend, how come she hadn't met someone like him? What? Buy it for me. No way.
Su Weier shook her head and refused. You gave me such an expensive watch last time, and today you're giving me a car.
No, I can't take such an expensive thing from you. Seeing this, the saleswoman naturally wouldn't waste this opportunity. What if this handsome guy really listens to his girlfriend and doesn't buy it? So she stepped forward and said, "Young lady, you are so lucky.
Your boyfriend is so thoughtful, you should accept it."
We also.
Su Weier blushed as she tried to explain, but then thought that Yi Ning shouldn't lose face in public. So she changed her words, "I just think it's too expensive, so it can be given to you when we get married in the future." After she finished speaking, Su Weier lowered her head, not daring to look up at Yi Ning's expression, and her toes were tapping on the soles of her shoes. Yi Ning looked at Su Weier in disbelief, and then he understood what the girl meant. He once again rubbed Su Weier's little head, and said, "It's okay, I'll get you something better when we get married." Su Weier gave Yi Ning a glare, and she could tell that Yi Ning was teasing her again. This big bad guy, she was out there defending Yi Ning's face, and Yi Ning was good at climbing the ladder.
The female clerk looked at the two of them being intimate, and suddenly felt that she didn't need to eat lunch today. She was full. Yi Ning, do you really want to buy it?
Let's take a look first, just in case there's something you like. After following the saleswoman around for a while, Su Weier was shocked by the prices. She had originally planned to buy a car that cost a few tens of thousands of yuan, and figured that she could slowly pay Yi Ning back later. But it turned out that not only were the cars that cost a few tens of thousands of yuan unavailable, none of the cars were even available for less than 400,000 yuan.
Yi Ning, why don't we go to another store and take a look?
These are all too expensive. Yi Ning thought that if he let Su Weier choose on her own, she probably wouldn't be able to make a decision by the end of the day, so he directly told the saleswoman.
The 911 just now was pretty good, do you have it in red?
The female clerk's eyes sparkled when she heard Yi Ning's words.
Is this man going to buy a 911 for his girlfriend?
This is too generous. Of course we have it, but you and Miss Su may have to wait a couple of days for it, as we have to transfer it from the headquarters.
Sure, just swipe the card and get the best configuration.
Before Su Weier could even process what was going on, Yi Ning had already paid.
Ding!
The host has spent 2.48 million on Su Weier and received a critical strike, and is rewarded with a villa on the cloud.
A villa on the cloud.
That is the most expensive luxury housing complex in Jiangcheng, with villas starting at 50 million, and some of the better ones costing 70 to 80 million.
You can't buy it even if you have the money.
Originally, I still needed to buy a house, but now it's all settled.
Su Weier, you are worthy of being the European emperor.
Mr. Yi, the paperwork is all done, just come back in 3 days with Ms. Su's ID to pick up the car, the saleswoman said respectfully.
Okay, thanks. Yi Ning nodded.
Seeing that Su Wei'er had not come back to her senses, he reached out and waved it in front of her eyes. Hey, come back to your senses, let's go. Then he dragged Su Wei'er out of the Porsche sales office. Going out to buy 2 cars not only brought 25 million in cash into his hands, but also a villa for free. Once they got in the car, Su Wei'er didn't say anything for a while. Yining, why are you being so good to me? Her eyes were a little red, and she really felt like crying. She admitted that the man next to her was really fascinating. In the past, there had been many rich guys who wanted to spend money to woo her, but she had never agreed to any of them. But now she knew very clearly in her heart that she liked to spend time with Yining, and she would miss him every day if she couldn't see him. This was probably falling in love, right? I quite like you. Yining replied honestly. Su Weier's heart was pounding, and her voice trembled as she stuttered, do you want to be with me? Looking at the girl's timid appearance, Yining hesitated. He did like Su Wei'er, but there was another woman in his heart. The mysterious woman with whom he had spent a night. Although Yining did not know her name, he had to find that demon. Chapter 11 Su Weier's confession. Seeing Yining not say anything, Su Wei'er immediately understood. She was no fool, and she had seen those rich guys at school with girlfriends before. She could tell that Yining really liked her, but he must also love other women, right? Yining, I like you. Su Wei'er inadvertently wiped away the tears in the corner of her eyes and smiled slightly. But, can you give me some time? Seeing the girl's smile bloom, she really looked like a sea of gorgeous flowers. It was really beautiful. Yining shook his head. No, I should thank you for giving me the opportunity. The two of them talked and smiled at each other. I said I would treat you to dinner before, it's noon now, do you want to eat anything? Chinese food, please. Su Wei'er said, while taking out her phone, can I start a live broadcast? As long as you don't show my face, Yining replied. Su Wei'er happily set up her phone, relieved, I'll be doing a food show later. Since Yining rewarded a gift of 100,000 yuan that night, Su Weier's live broadcast room has also become slightly more popular. Before, there were only a dozen people in the live broadcast room, but now there are usually 100 or 200 people in the evening, and more when she's lucky. Occasionally, the boss will reward, but of course it's a drop in the bucket compared to Yining. Hello, everyone, good afternoon. Su Wei'er greeted the camera. Soon, the number of comments gradually increased. Xiao Wei'er started streaming in the morning, so I can watch her while I eat again. Wow, is the host wearing a skirt today? Let's take a look at her legs. Take a look at her legs +1. Take a look at her legs +2. Take a look at her legs +10,086. You guys have very strange interests. Haven't you noticed that the host is sitting in the passenger seat? What's so strange about sitting in the passenger seat? It's not strange to sit in the passenger seat, but the question is, who's driving? Damn, blind monk, you found the highlight. Anchor, come on, who's in the driver's seat? Looking at the noisy streamers in the live broadcast room, Su Wei'er felt very amused. Ha, you bosses can guess, who is it? How could we possibly guess? Why don't you turn the camera around and let us take a look? Yeah, show us. Su Wei'er slightly turned the camera, and apart from Yining's face, everything else was captured. Wow! He looks like a handsome young man. Anchor, don't hog the spotlight, I want to see his face. Have you all not noticed? This car is a Mercedes-Benz G-Class. It costs 2 to 3 million. Holy shit, it really is. Anchor, have you fallen? It's over, you've finally been blinded by money, the anchor is no longer clean. Not to mention, the car is quite handsome. Nonsense, a few million, it's just a pile of junk, I think it's handsome too. Anchor, you haven't said who the driver is. Su Wei'er, didn't I tell you to guess? Can't you guess? Are you really asking us to guess? Who can guess? No, since the anchor said so, it must be someone we all know. We know him, so it must be a friend of the live stream. Right, a friend of the live stream, and so rich. Do you need to guess? Damn it, Anchor, you're actually stealing the show. Su Wei'er was confused by this comment. Stealing food? Her? What does that mean? Ninggu Big Brother is everyone's. That's right, hand over Ninggu Brother, don't be ungrateful. Yining also glanced at the comments and found them amusing. Ha ha ha, what a bunch of ridiculous netizens. Yining shook her head and let out a laugh.
Wow, Brother Ningu spoke, and his voice is so nice to hear. You're still listening to the voice, and I've already got the paper. You're still getting the paper, and I'm already smoking. You're still smoking, and my hands are covered in ashes. Upstairs, how can you still be typing? Typing with your tongue, to show your innocence. Bullshit.
Following the navigation prompts, Yining took Su Wire to a private kitchen. The layout of the house is like a courtyard house, but it is larger than an average courtyard house.
It is complete with pavilions, towers, bridges, and flowing water. It is quiet and elegant, with a pleasant view. Not to mention the taste, at least the view. Oh no, the price is extraordinary. How many people are in your party, sir?
The waitress is elegantly dressed in a qipao with a split
skirt. Just the two of us.
The waitress gestures with her hand and says, "Very well, sir, please follow me."
Yining and Su Wei arrived at a corner table.
The waiter pulled up the bamboo curtain, and the beautiful view of the pond outside was like a scroll painting.
It's so beautiful. Su Wei couldn't help but exclaim.
Yining saw Su Wei's mouth quietly curling up, her eyes staring at the lotus flowers on the water with a smile. She looked like a lotus flower emerging from the water, competing with the blooming lotus flowers for beauty. Indeed, it is very beautiful.
Yining echoed.
Su Wei turned her head and saw Yining's gaze fixed on her, and blush once again climbed her cheeks. Since the camera was always facing Su Wei, the streamers in the broadcast room could see her expression clearly.
Hey! Now I'm sure that the host is really in love. I'm so sour, just like a lemon. I'm already full without even watching the host eat. Woof woof. At this time, the waiter also came to the table with the menu. He asked softly, "Sir, may I take your order now?" Chapter 12 Su Wei's initiative. Yes.
Yining nodded and pointed at the picture on the menu, saying, "Let's have the 8888 set meal, 2 servings." The waitress's expression was slightly surprised, but then returned to normal, except that her smile became even more intense. Many people come to their restaurant to eat private cuisine, but there are definitely not many people who don't hesitate to order the most expensive set meal. This is the 8,888 set meal, which is more than 17,000 for 2 people, and not everyone can afford it.
Okay, please hold on. The waitress quickly left. Su Wei was even more shocked by the numbers on the menu and couldn't help but stick out her tongue. A meal costs nearly 20,000 yuan, is this made of gold? Will eating it make you immortal?
Then she thought about how Yining had already spent millions this morning, and suddenly she didn't feel like the 10,000 yuan was a big deal anymore.
Huh? Am I floating in the air? 17,000 yuan is nothing. What's wrong? Yining couldn't help but ask, seeing Su Wei's perplexed expression. Su Wei immediately put on a fierce look and said, "It's so expensive, if it's not good, I'll make a fuss."
Yining laughed and shook his head, thinking that this young girl's thoughts were really out of the box. She comes up with one thing after another. As the appetizers were served, Yining and Su Wei couldn't help but start eating. The difference between the two was that Yining ate quietly. Su Wei, on the other hand, had to share what she was eating with the live streaming audience.
Fortunately, they were in a corner, and since there weren't many people dining here in the morning, they didn't disturb anyone else.
Of course, the live streaming room was also in an uproar. Although many people couldn't afford to eat these top-grade delicacies from the mountains and seas, such as lobster and matsutake mushrooms, watching others eat was also a kind of enjoyment. Not to mention that Su Wei was such a top-notch beauty that she was already a feast for the eyes. The entire meal took almost an hour and a half. It wasn't that the portions were too large and they couldn't finish them. It was just that the dishes were served one after the other, which was really slow. Of course, there was nothing to say about the taste, at least for Yining and Su Wei. This meal was the most beautiful meal they had ever had in a restaurant. Of course, if you were to say that the most delicious meal in the world was the one you had at home, then you would be wrong. Your mother's cooking is the best. Not only does she know your taste the best, but there is also a kind of taste on the table that you can never forget. I call this taste family affection, or human warmth. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Yining went to the front desk to settle the bill. Ding! The host has spent 8,888 yuan and received a 10x rebate of 88,880 yuan. A rebate of 90,000 yuan for a meal is not bad. But what about the other one? The host has spent 8,888 yuan for Su Wei and received a critical strike, rewarding the master-level cooking skill.
It's actually a master-level cooking skill.
This was Yining's first time getting a skill crit, and at first he thought he wouldn't get one, but sure enough, the system never disappoints.
Jage. The host shouldn't underestimate this system. Air. You're not a villain, are you?
Smiling so wildly, you're a character. Oh no, there's something wrong with your system settings. In the afternoon, Yining dropped Su Wire off at the bottom of the building. Go on in, and remember to pick up your car in a few days with your ID. Su Wire buried her head, a little reluctant, let out a little "oh," and then stood still without moving.
What's wrong? Are you reluctant to let me go? Yining smiled seductively. I'm not. Su Wire stamped her foot.
Yining thought it was quite funny to tease the little girl, and laughed heartily. Okay, I just explained. It's not that I won't go with you to pick up the car, but I really need to go home. After all, I've been gone for so long, and I really haven't seen my parents in a long time. I was planning to go home tomorrow, and that's why I'm in such a hurry to buy a car. I know, you go ahead, I'll go up after you've left, Su Wire stubbornly said.
Okay.
Yining got back into the driver's seat, pulled the door shut, and was about to start the car.
Yining. Without noticing, Su Wire somehow found herself next to the car door. What? Yining hadn't reacted yet.
A moist, soft and slightly fragrant touch appeared on Yining's cheek like a dragonfly's touch. Yining was first stunned, then a wicked smile appeared on his face.
Excuse me, Miss Su, what are you doing? I'm giving you a seal so that you won't forget me.
Su Wire's face was arrogant. However, the redness of her ears made her argument not very convincing. Yining didn't expose her either, pretending to be shameless.
Then I'm not losing out, no way, I want to stamp you too.
With that, he stuck his head out the window. You wish, slightly. With a burst of fragrance, Su Wire blushed and ran into the community gate with a stomp. Yining saw Su Wire's shy appearance and shook his head with a smile. This little girl is really cute. Leaving Su Wire's community, Yining drove to the Yunshan Longjing Villa area. It is located in the suburbs, and the air and greenery here are much better than those in the city center. Most importantly, there is an artificial river here, and the most expensive villas in Yunshan Longjing are built along the artificial river. As soon as Yining's car arrived at the gate, a young security guard came over.
Sir, welcome to Yunshan Longjing, may I help you?
Chapter 13 Critical Strike Reward 30% of Flying Fish live streaming. Yunshan Longjing is worthy of being the most expensive luxury housing estate in Jiangcheng, and the quality of the security guards here is very high. Of course, this is also related to the car Yining is driving.
A car worth several million is still very classy in Jiangcheng. Well, I bought a villa from you, so could you please log in the information about the license plate for me? My name is Yining, Yining explained. Upon hearing Yining's words, the security guard's attitude became even more respectful.
Mr. Yi, please wait a moment, I will notify the property manager to come and help you. In less than 3 minutes, a short-haired woman wearing a suit and skirt, with glasses and high heels, came quickly. The woman's appearance was naturally not bad. She could be the property manager at Yunshan Longjing, and at least in appearance, she had to leave a good impression on the owners. Of course, compared to the peerless beauty Su Wire, she was still quite a bit off. The short-haired woman, holding a tablet, came to Yining's car window and bowed, saying, "Hello, Mr. Yi, I am Luo Rongrong, the property manager of Yunshan Longjing.
I will help you with the formalities now. Could you please show me your ID card?"
Sure.
Yining took his ID card and gave it to Luo Rongrong. In less than 2 minutes, after Luo Rongrong took a photo of Yining, the formalities were completed. Okay, Mr. Yi, now I will take you to Building 7. I will guide you from the front, please follow me.
No, you can sit in the passenger seat and just guide me, said Yining.
Okay, Mr. Yi, sorry for the inconvenience.
Luo Rongrong sat in the passenger seat and really got a good look at Yining's handsome face, and even though she had seen countless handsome guys, she was still surprised. Yining didn't really pay attention to Luo Rongrong's expression and followed her instructions, slowly approaching a villa by the river.
Building 7. Mr. Yi, once again, welcome home. If you need anything, just call my phone number and I will be at your service. Luo Rongrong reluctantly got out of the car.
She had noticed just now in the car that Yining had not even glanced at her. It seemed that Yining was completely uninterested in her, which made Luo Rongrong feel a little lost, and she even became a little insecure about her appearance. She walked through the garden and entered the villa gate. The first thing she saw was a huge living room, with a ceiling height of at least 7 meters. The villa is divided into 2 floors, with only one bedroom on the first floor and the rest being a living room, dining room, etc. The second floor is all suites, and there is also a large open-air balcony. Of course, as a top luxury home in Jiangcheng, the 80 million yuan villa comes with a swimming pool as standard. Yi Ning is naturally very satisfied with such a house. When she thinks about her parents still living in an old 3-bedroom, 1 living room house that is narrow and small, Yi Ning decides that when she returns home this time, she must buy a big house like this in her hometown. His parents have worked hard all their lives and deserve to enjoy themselves. That night, Yi Ning was bored and was watching videos when several private messages popped up. They were private messages from friends of Su Wei's in her live broadcast room.
Are you there, Ninggu Big Brother? Will you come to the battle royale between Wei and Xiaowei in 10 days? Battle royale?
It's a competition between the anchors to see which one of their friends can spend the most money and advance. If you can make it into the top 10, it's not impossible to become a big anchor earning millions a year. Yi Ning knew that Su Wei must not have told him because she didn't want to waste his money, but now that he knew, he would definitely help.
Come on. Yi Ning didn't hesitate.
Next, Yi Ning directly topped up 10 million in Feiyu Live.
Ding!
The anchor has spent 10 million on Su Wei and received a critical strike, and is rewarded with 30% of Feiyu Live shares. Holy shit! As one of the most well-known live streaming platforms in the country, Feiyu Live has a market value of around 15 billion.
30% is 4.5 billion. That's more than his existing Jiangnan commercial street. Su Wei is truly his lucky star.
While Yi Ning was excited, thousands of miles away in the Magic City, at the Feiyu Live headquarters, the chairman of the board just received notification that most of the shares we have scattered abroad have been acquired by individuals.
What did you say? Yu Shenglong was full of disbelief. Who is that person? How much was acquired?
It was a young man named Yi Ning who bought 30% of the platform.
Yu Shenglong frowned slightly. He had never heard of the name Yi Ning. Was Yi the surname of a young master from a certain group? There was also some information about Mr. Yi Ning.
Speak. Mr. Yi opened a private account on our platform not long ago and made his first recharge of 100,000 yuan. Today, he made another recharge of 10 million yuan.
10 million yuan?
Yu Shenglong was shocked. He made a one-time recharge of 10 million yuan to the live broadcast and also spent nearly 5 billion yuan to buy shares of the platform.
What does he want? How much money does he have anyway?
I suspect that the reason he spent so much money is because of an anchorwoman called Xiaowei.
Why?
Because he only gave rewards to that anchorwoman, and browsing records show that Mr. Yi has not patronized other live broadcast rooms.
Well, okay.
Yu Shenglong was speechless, and said leisurely, I used to think I was rich, but now look, this is what a real rich man is like. Then he said to his assistant, go there when the time comes and switch the live broadcast room of that Xiaowei to the homepage.
Ah. Chairman, I've checked, that Xiaowei is just a small anchor with a few hundred followers.
Picking her to compete on the homepage is likely to run into those big anchors.
In case she loses, won't Mr. Yi be unhappy? The assistant had some concerns. You really are a pig's brain. Yu Shenglong patted the table. Don't you think about it? The person who spent billions of dollars, would he let that little anchor lose? Hurry up and go, it's best to publicize it more.
Su Wei was originally broadcasting well, but suddenly a large number of people flooded into the broadcast room, and her skyrocketing popularity made her unable to react. She didn't understand what was going on until someone told her that the broadcast room had gone to the homepage. Yi Ning of course didn't know about any of this, and he was already packing up the things he needed to bring with him tomorrow.
Chapter 14 by Iluwa.
The next day, at daybreak, Yi Ning set off in his car.
Yi Ning's hometown was Yangcheng in Sichuan province, a small inland city much smaller than Jiangcheng.
Along the way, he had to cross provinces and pass through many mountain road tunnels. Yi Ning drove along the highway until the afternoon before barely entering the borders of Sichuan province. Yi Ning drove to a service area and got out to refuel and take a break. Not far away, a white Ferrari 488 caught his attention. Of course, the white-clad girl standing next to the Ferrari was also a beautiful sight. Bai Iluwa was on the phone, and a few fine beads of sweat on her seemingly calm face indicated that she was not at peace. She had also driven from Jiangcheng to Sichuan province, but she was not going to Yangcheng, but to the provincial capital, Jincheng.
Unexpectedly, the car broke down on the way.
Fortunately, it was near a service area, as it would be dangerous to park on the highway. The problem now was that she was stuck here waiting for a tow truck, and her original plans seemed to be disrupted. Yining walked a little closer and heard Bai Iluwa's voice and got the general idea.
Hello, can I help you? Yining came up to Bai Iluwa and asked.
At this time, he finally got a good look at the white-clad woman's face. Yining had originally thought that he would be lucky enough to meet Su Weier and the demon girl, two peerless beauties. But at this moment, he realized that his lucky star was still shining. This beauty was definitely on the same level as Su Weier, like a beauty who had stepped out of a painting. Moreover, the woman in front of him gave off a completely different feeling than the demon girl and Su Weier had.
The demon girl was charming, and Su Weier was pure.
This woman is serene, like a thin layer of frost on the surface of a lake, unable to stir up even the slightest ripple.
Bai Iluwa looked at Yining and then said, I want to go to Jincheng, but my car broke down.
Even if I wait for a tow truck, I won't be able to go to Jincheng now, Bai Iluwa added.
Then let's go together. I'm going back to Yancheng, which isn't far from Jincheng. Can I give you a ride?
Bai Iluwa didn't say anything, and stared at Yining for a long time. Yining felt a little uncomfortable being looked at by this white-clad woman, so he could only ask again, is there a problem? Bai Iluwa shook her head, turned around, opened the door of the Ferrari, and took out a backpack.
Then she walked straight towards Yining's Mercedes-Benz Grand G, skillfully opened the passenger door, and sat down.
Yining was a little confused by this sudden move.
Is this it?
Regarding this white-clad woman worshipping money and getting into his car for money.
He didn't believe that. Didn't he see that she had a Ferrari 488?
And judging by the designer clothes she was wearing, she came from a wealthy family.
When are we leaving? Bai Iluwa asked, sticking his head out of the car, when Yining didn't follow. Is this where you're parking? I've already arranged it. Someone will come and tow it away later. Let's go, then. Yining got into the driver's seat and the Mercedes-Benz drove onto the highway again.
Along the way, Yining felt that Bai Iluwa was a boring person. He didn't say anything, and occasionally took out his phone, swiped it a few times, and then closed it again. Yining was a little bored and tried to find a topic of conversation.
Ahem, to be honest, I still don't know your name. Bai Iluwa.
Bai Iluwa stared intently at the front and answered.
Yining nodded, my name is. Yining, right? Bai Iluwa took out Yining's ID card from the side and waved it.
Yes. Yining was speechless after this display. You just got in my car without any hesitation.
Aren't you afraid that I'm a bad guy? Yining asked out of curiosity.
In his opinion, it was always right for a girl to protect herself and stay vigilant when she was out. Especially for a rare beauty like Bai Iluwa. You shouldn't be suspicious of others, but you should always be on your guard. Of course, this is also true for boys. Bai Iluwa took his phone and waved it next to the steering wheel, his face still expressionless. Yining then saw that Bai Iluwa had been sharing the location with someone, and that his license plate number had also been sent to that account. I'm not an idiot, I won't just get into a stranger's car.
Bai Iluwa explained quietly. The two of them just chatted back and forth.
They didn't finally get off the highway until the sun had set.
That's enough. I'll just hail a cab. Bai Iluwa said as they reached the outskirts of Jincheng.
Yining saw that the sky had completely darkened and the road was lit up with neon lights of all colors. But he shook his head and refused. Forget it, help someone until the end. Besides, it's almost 8 o'clock, I'm not at ease leaving you, a girl, out here.
Bai Iluwa looked at
Ning with a little strange look in her eyes.
Her big eyes twinkled as they were reflected in the neon lights. Thank you, Yining.
She whispered, her speech much faster than before.
It was half an hour before Yining put Bai Iluwa down. You should go home quickly, it's already late and you have to hurry. Bai Iluwa urged.
Yining nodded with a smile and drove off. Looking at the taillights of the Mercedes-Benz, Bai Iluwa said softly, have a safe trip. Arriving at the hotel that had been booked long ago, Bai Iluwa knocked gently on the door.
Who is it?
A young woman's voice came from inside the room.
Xiao Xian opened the door. It's me. Clang.
The door opened, and Ai Xian was already wearing her pajamas, and she let out a sigh of relief when she saw Bai Iluwa.
Iluwa, you're finally here.
I was worried sick when I heard you said the car broke down.
So you still didn't know to come pick me up?
Bailawa spoke in a tone that carried a hint of coquettishness.
I just got my driver's license, so I'm afraid to drive on the highway.
Ai Xian stuck out her tongue and said apologetically. But then she felt something was wrong. As her best friend, she knew exactly what kind of person Bailawa was. Her tone of speech was never flustered or agitated, and she always spoke in a calm and level voice. Why did she suddenly sound so coquettish? Hey hey. Ai Xian had a curious look on her face.
Did something good happen?
Well, sort of.
Bailawa nodded.
Chapter 15 The blind date is with the Sea King.
It was 10 o'clock at night when they returned to Yangcheng.
Yining was hungry after a long day's drive, and there was no food at home. So he parked the car by the roadside and found a food stall to satisfy his hunger. Even with his master-level cooking skills, he had to admit that the people who could set up a stall at night in Sichuan province must be at least quite good. Those Michelin stars are not necessarily better than the fried rice sold at a roadside stall. Halfway through his meal, Yining heard a clattering noise from the kebab stall next door. He looked up and saw a bald tattooed man standing in front of a table occupied by a young couple, his eyes full of anger. I knew there was something wrong with you lately, and now I see what it is.
Suli, you're fucking playing with me, aren't you?
The bald tattooed man picked up the bottle on the table, smashed it to the ground with a bang, and then slapped Suli in the face.
You like this kind of pretty boy, don't you, you bitch?
The bald tattooed man pointed at the other man with glasses on the table and said. Then, the bald tattooed man poked the glasses man in the chest and said, Kid, do you know that this is my girlfriend?
How dare you flirt with my girlfriend? Do you want to die?
The bespectacled man was also panicking at the sight of the furious tattooed man and could only weakly explain, Brother, I really don't know, and Suli said she didn't have a boyfriend.
Hearing the bespectacled man's explanation, Yining finally understood that this woman was the Sea Queen. It's interesting. Gulping down a big mouthful of rice, it's not as good as fish-flavored shredded pork with rice?
Gradually, a lot of people gathered around, and nothing could stop the crowd from eating. In the end, to prevent a fight, someone quietly called the police, and everyone was taken to the police station. When Yining arrived home by car, it was almost 11 o'clock.
Clang! He took out the key and opened the door. Finally, he was back.
Yining let out a sigh as he looked at the familiar layout of the house. Although the house was small, he felt at ease.
Son! Why didn't you say you were coming back? It's so late, I thought there was a thief in the house.
Ye's mother was wearing pajamas and was very surprised to see Yining.
Yi Laoi also came out of his bedroom and patted Yining on the shoulder.
He had lost weight.
Hey, Mom and Dad, I've missed you so much. Yining gave them both a hug.
This was the happiest he had been in a long time. He was a grown man, but he still didn't know how to act more responsibly.
Yi Laoi pushed Yining away and scolded him. You just got home, what are you saying to him?
Yi Ma, on the other hand, kept looking at Yining from left to right, saying, My son is so handsome.
That's right, and it's not like he's not my son.
Yi is very proud. This is not wrong. When Yi and Ye's mother were young, they were the famous handsome man and beautiful woman in the village. Damn this society that looks at faces. It's just that you're back, so we can get started on that thing your third auntie mentioned. Ye's mother seemed to have remembered something, and hurriedly ran into the bedroom. Yining was at a loss. Dad, what's wrong with my mom? Your third aunt came by a while ago and said she wanted to introduce you to a girl. You recently broke up, so your mother agreed. What? Yining didn't expect to be set up on a blind date. Wait, Mom, I have a girlfriend, so don't bother your third aunt, Yining said loudly. Ye's mother didn't believe Yining's words. They had only broken up a few days ago, so who would believe him when he said he had a girlfriend right away? Yining must not want to go on a blind date and is just lying to her.
Tomorrow, right? Then let's say that.
Bye. Ye's mother hung up the phone excitedly.
Then she said to Yi, go buy more food tomorrow, the whole family will be here. Mom, don't be so aggressive.
Yining looked helpless. There was no choice. Ye's mother was the only person in charge in the family, and no one could change what she had decided.
You're already 25? If you don't get more proactive, I'll become a housekeeper.
You should get married soon, while your father and I are still able to help you with the kids. The older generation places the greatest importance on passing on the family name, and Yining's parents also want to hold their grandchild in their arms as soon as possible.
Moreover, Yining's income is not low, so the two elderly people have even fewer concerns. Yining had no choice but to say that they could talk about it tomorrow. It was just a blind date, and it didn't mean that they would get together. The next day, as soon as it was light, Yining was dragged up by Yima. She helped Yima clean the house, wash the vegetables, cook, and was busy doing this and that, and the morning passed. Ding dong. Here it comes, son, go open the door. Yining opened the door, and the first thing he saw was his third aunt. Behind her were three strangers, who looked like a family of three. The young woman in the back, who was slightly attractive, looked like the protagonist of the day. Good afternoon, third aunt. Yining greeted. Yining has become even more handsome. Third aunt smirks and praises. Come, third aunt will introduce you. These are Su Li's parents. Hello, aunt and uncle. Third aunt then pulls Su Li, who is standing at the end, in front of Yining. This is Su Li, not bad, right? Yining had just felt that this woman looked familiar, and now that he hears her name, he suddenly remembers that this is not the woman Sea King he met at the roadside stall last night? Chapter 16 Is your daughter suitable? Could it be that he has been found out for having two lovers and has no spare tire, so he, Yining, has to be the fall guy? Moreover, he had long since noticed that Su Li's parents looked down on his family at the door, and it didn't look like they were easy people to get along with. Of course, Yining had no intention of getting along with this family. Before Yining could say anything, he heard Su Li's mother say to her third aunt with disgust, Xiao-chun, this is your nephew. He looks good, but the family's conditions are a bit poor. Then, without a care for her third aunt's embarrassed expression, she looked at Yining and asked, young man, besides this place, do you have another house? There's only this one in Yangchang, Yining said without hesitation. He wasn't lying either, the villa was in Zhangchang. Oh, that's a problem. Su Li's mother looked sorry for her. My daughter Lili is naturally beautiful, and she has never suffered hardship since childhood. As her parents, of course we hope that she can live a good life after marriage. Let's not talk about being rich and powerful, but at least having a car and a house, and being able to wear nice clothes and eat well. I'm saying this, young man, do you understand? Yining looked calm and said, I understand, but then what? If you understand, then don't say that I'm putting you in a difficult position. Yining knew that once she said this, she was going to ask for a lot, so she just had to wait and see what she would do. First of all, it hasn't been easy raising our daughter all these years, so 1,000,000 yuan in gifts isn't too much, is it? Third auntie's face turned pale when she heard this. She hadn't even entered the door yet, and she was already asking for 1,000,000 in dowry. She knew Yining's family situation very well, and knew that she definitely couldn't afford it. But Su Li's mother didn't care about that. Next, the house should be at least 200 square meters, and the car didn't need to be too expensive, just around 500,000 yuan. My colleague's child has a nice BMW 5 Series. For now, that's all. Do you think you can accept it? Su Li's mother crossed her arms, in an overbearing manner. Yining sneered in her heart. A slut who doesn't know how many boyfriends she's had can still make such a price. It really does live up to the saying, not in the same family, not in the same door. Auntie, aren't these requirements of yours a bit too low? Yining's tone was without a ripple. A 200 square meter house and a 500,000 yuan car, this is rubbish. Su Li's family was originally prepared for Yining to refuse and then they would turn and leave, but they never expected Yining to say that the requirements were too low. The three members of the Su family's eyes shone with gold, and looking at Yining was like seeing a huge mountain of gold. Ah yes, I wonder what your esteemed son-in-law thinks. Su Li's mother changed her tone, looking friendly. Although I rarely return to Yangchang, after all, my parents are here, and this house is really too small, so I'm going to buy a villa. Yining said. A villa. The Su family didn't hear anything else, just that Yining was going to buy a villa. The property ownership certificate will be in Su Li's name, so it's worth at least a few million. As for a car, I have a Mercedes-Benz G-Class parked downstairs, so I won't buy one for now. With that, Yining took out the car keys and waved them around. A Mercedes-Benz G-Class. It turned out that the black G-Class they had just seen downstairs was actually Yining's. At the time, they had been thinking that it would be great if they could marry their daughter off to the owner of this Mercedes-Benz G-Class. Now wasn't this a coincidence, just like a pie falling from the sky? Ha ha ha, great. Su Li's father also spoke, I like you for being such an enterprising young man. Let's go in first, I want to talk to my in-laws about the wedding arrangements. Saying this, the family was about to walk past Yining and enter the door. Bang!
But as the third ant walked through the door, Yining directly reached out his arm and heavily pressed it against the doorframe, blocking the Su family outside.
The sudden change of events took everyone by surprise. Ha, son-in-law, what do you mean by that?
Su Li's mother laughed awkwardly.
Who's your son-in-law? Yining sneered.
You came here with a long face, looking down on people from above, and when you heard that I'd become rich, you kept calling me son-in-law. Don't you feel ashamed? And 1,000,000 yuan in gifts, a 200 square meter house, and a 500,000 yuan car.
Yining sneered. Do you think your daughter is worthy of that? Yining, what do you mean? On what basis do you look down on me?
Su Li, who had not spoken up until now, instantly refused to accept this arrangement. She was not a beauty with a stunning appearance, but she was naturally pretty and a proper beauty.
With her qualifications, what did 1,000,000 yuan in dowry matter?
If she wanted to, it was not impossible for her to marry into a wealthy family and become a wealthy wife. Ah, Su Li, it seems that last night the police officer did not educate you enough.
As soon as Yining spoke, Su Li's face turned pale as paper. You were there? Su Li asked with difficulty. Yining looked at her contemptuously and said, What do you think? If you want no one to know, you must do it yourself.
Su Li's parents didn't understand what Yining and their daughter were talking about, but they still heard the word police clearly.
Lily, what exactly happened?
Su Li's mother asked. Su Li pleaded, Mom, please stop.
Let's go home first. What about the arranged marriage? Su Li's mother was not willing to give up.
Naturally, they didn't want to miss out on a rich man like Yining.
What arranged marriage?
Su Li wished she could just disappear through the floor and run away, leaving her parents behind.
Yining didn't care about the family and simply closed the door. Ning, what's going on? I don't understand what you're saying.
Third aunt felt that the atmosphere was not right just now, so she wisely kept quiet.
Yes, son, so you know Su Li?
Ye's mother asked, suspiciously, as she served the last dish. Even Lao Yi, who had been sitting on the sofa without saying a word, looked over.
Chapter 17 Mo Qingqing.
Yining recounted what she had seen and heard last night. Ye's mother kept shaking her head after hearing it.
Hey, looking at the pretty young girl, how could she do such a thing? It's just nonsense.
Third aunt also didn't expect that not only were Su Li's parents strange, but she herself was not as simple as she appeared. I'm sorry, Ning, third aunt didn't expect that Su Li would be so.
Third aunt felt very embarrassed.
She had introduced Su Li, but she never imagined that she would turn out to be like this.
It's okay, third aunt. It's just that Su Li is very good at pretending. Didn't you see that her parents didn't even know about her shenanigans?
That's true.
Third aunt smiled apologetically.
Later, during dinner, Yining and the others tacitly didn't mention Su Li, feeling disgusted.
Oh, by the way, remember to pick up your sister tomorrow afternoon.
Yima said, as she passed Yining a piece of chicken. Although Yining had mentioned buying a car to her before, she never imagined that her son had bought a multi-million-dollar car. She had only just learned about it from Yining's conversation with Su Li's family. Thinking about the 1,000,000 yuan in cash that Yining had transferred to her before, and now a multi-million-dollar car, she had no idea how much money her son actually had.
Okay. Yining casually agreed.
Yi Xiaogui was in his third year of high school, and the college entrance exam was just a month away. Their school only gives 2 days off a month, and tomorrow can be considered their last vacation before the college entrance exam. At 9 p.m., Yining received a call from Li Hu, her high school best friend.
Zizi, did you see the message in the group chat?
On the other end of the line, Li Hu's voice was rougher than Yining remembered.
I haven't seen it yet, let me check.
Yining opened the class group chat, where many people were discussing the topic, which of course revolved around the class reunion.
Are you going? Yining asked. He didn't really care about things like this.
His relationship with his classmates in high school was not bad, and he could chat with anyone. But he only had one real friend, Li Hu, so if Li Hu wasn't going, then he didn't bother going either.
Go ahead, we can go together. Okay, I'll contact you then.
After hanging up the phone, Yining went to bed early. The next day, Yining finally remembered that he had left the gifts he had brought for his family in the car. Taking the opportunity to take out the trash, he carried a large load of things upstairs.
Son, what's this?
Ye's mother was a little puzzled to see her son carrying so much up the stairs in just a few minutes. "These are cosmetics for you, Mom, to keep you young," Yining said with a smile. "Mom's getting old, what's the point of wasting all this money?" Ye's mother muttered, but her face was still very happy. Then Yining took out a bright green bracelet and put it on Ye's mother's wrist. Although Ye's mother didn't understand the value of jade, she could tell that the bracelet was not cheap. She gently stroked the coolness on her wrist and said in a friendly tone, "It must have cost a lot of money, right?" Seeing that her mother really liked it, Yining was also happy. "Hey, as long as you like it, mother." Seeing that Yining didn't say anything, Ye's mother didn't pursue the price of the bracelet. The bracelet was indeed not cheap, but it was nearly $500,000, but Yining didn't care. Yining then placed 5 bottles of Maotai in front of Lao Yi and said, "Dad, you haven't tried this stuff, have you? How much is it?" Lao Yi's hobby was picking up bottles of wine, and he asked excitedly. "It's not expensive, 50,000. It was obvious that Lao Yi's hands trembled a little when he heard the number Yining said, and he almost dropped the bottle of wine. 11,000 a bottle isn't expensive? Lao Yi glared at Yining angrily. Do you know that a few months ago, when Du's daughter came home, she brought him 2 bottles of 2,000 yuan Mutai, which he showed off for many days? Yining knew that the old Du mentioned by Yi was from this neighborhood. He was actually a pretty nice guy, but he liked to show off. Of course, he had a daughter who graduated from a famous university, so he had the means to show off. This expensive Mutai, let's take a bottle to Du's place in a few days to let them try it, ha ha. Yining looked at his father, who was beaming with pride, and was about to say something, but then thought better of it. When he said 50,000, he didn't mean what Lao Yi understood. He was talking about 50,000 yuan per bottle, but Lao Yi understood it to mean 50,000 yuan for 5 bottles. I wonder if Lao Yi would still be willing to share the wine if he knew its real price. In the afternoon, Yining drove to Yangcheng High School. This was not only his younger sister Yi Xiaogua's school, but also Yining's alma mater. Although Yining had not yet arrived when school let out, there were already quite a few private cars parked by the school gate. The moment Yining's car appeared at the school gate, many parents noticed it at once. It was a Mercedes-Benz G-Class. A car worth millions, naturally attracting a lot of attention in a small 18th-tier city like Yangcheng. Yining was sitting in the car, watching videos, when her gaze was suddenly caught by a young woman wearing a simple green dress, with shoulder-length hair tied up in a shawl, and a petite figure. Yining admitted that the woman was indeed too beautiful, and her appearance was comparable to Su Wei'er and Bai Ilua. It was just that her temperament was different. This woman was the petite and cute type, which could also be said to be very charming. The main reason was that this girl was someone he knew, Yining's high school classmate and class flower, Mo Qingqing. Of course, if their school had voted for the most beautiful girl, Mo Qingqing would have been at the top of the list. After many years, seeing Mo Qingqing again still made Yining's heart flutter slightly. During high school, which boy in the class would dare say they didn't have a secret crush on Mo Qingqing? Just as he didn't know how to greet her, Mo Qingqing saw him first and came over on her own initiative, saying, "Yining, long time no see." Chapter 18 Receiving the 2 little ones. It really has been a long time. How have you been recently, class flower? Yining said with a smile. Mo Qingqing had a complex expression on her face. I'm no longer the class flower, you can just call me Qingqing. Mo Qingqing didn't say whether she was doing well. During her 3 years of high school, she excelled in both character and studies, and was accepted into a well-known domestic university, Sichuan University, with the top score in the whole school. After graduating with a bachelor's degree, Mo Qingqing, who wanted to continue her studies, had wanted to work and study at the same time and continue to take the postgraduate entrance exam. However, a sudden change of events dealt a huge blow to Mo Qingqing, who came from a single-parent family. Her mother was diagnosed with kidney failure. The huge medical bills made her give up her plans to take the postgraduate entrance exam. She returned from Jincheng to Yangcheng, working to earn money while taking care of her mother. Her younger sister Mo Chanshan is in her senior year of high school, and a large sum of money will be needed when the time comes for her to go to university. Can this be considered a good life? Thinking about this, the worry in Mo Qingqing's brow deepened. Yining saw the expression on Mo Qingqing's face and knew that she had not been having an easy time recently, so he changed the subject as soon as possible. Do you also have a younger brother or sister at Yangcheng High School? Yes. Mo Qingqing nodded. My younger sister, Chanshan, is in her 3rd year of high school. That's a coincidence, my younger brother Gui is also taking the college entrance exam soon, maybe we'll even be in the same class.
Yi Ning joked. Younger brother Gua? Yi Xiaogua? You're my younger sister? Mo Qingqing's eyes widened. You know my younger sister?
Not only do I know her, she and my younger sister are also very close,
Mo Qingqing admitted.
She felt incredibly surprised in her heart.
Mo Chanxian's best friend was actually Yi Ning's younger sister. The world is really full of coincidences.
The two of them chatted for a while, and the bell finally rang at the end of the class. Over the years, this bell has never changed.
Yes, it has always been the same. Mo Qingqing's face broke into a long-lost smile as if she was remembering something.
When Yi Xiaogua and Mo Chanxian walked out of the school gate together, Yi Ning noticed them at once. Yi Xiaogua is tall. At 18 years old, she is 168 centimeters tall, only a little shorter than the young anchor Su Wire. Mo Chanxian is similar to Mo Qingqing, only about 160 centimeters tall. Both are petite and cute. But without exception, both are first-class beauties, outstanding among all the high school students walking out of the school gate.
Xiaogua, I see my sister, let's go over. Following Mo Chanxian's finger, Mo Qingqing stood quietly like a lotus flower. But, why does that man next to Qingqing look familiar? Qianqian. Yi Xiaogua grabbed Mo Chanxian's arm. I saw someone who looks like my brother.
It's not like your brother, I am your brother. Yi Ning rolled his eyes. His sister is really enough, she can't even recognize her own brother. She had imagined several touching and tearful ways of meeting, but Yi Xiaogua's thoughtlessness had shattered her illusions. It was a real sister indeed, to the extent that Yi Ning had even prepared a gift for her.
The more she thought about it, the angrier she became.
Yi Ning couldn't help but play with Yi Xiaogua's hair, letting her feel the messy gorgeousness.
Brother! You're moving my hair again.
Yi Xiaogua pouted, looking angry, but to outsiders, it looked like she was just being cute. It was strange to say, but Yi Xiaogua had always had a carefree personality. She could make friends with the girls in her class and get along with the boys. She would always take the initiative to solve problems herself and rarely ask for help. This had cultivated her independent and self-reliant character. But it was this same Yi Xiaogua who often acted cute in front of Yi Ning, even more so than Yi Ma. Mo Chanxian, who was standing next to her, looked at Yi Xiaogua in disbelief. Yi Xiaogua was a stranger to her at the moment. She had seen for herself that Yi Xiaogua could be quite a spoiled child.
Right, brother, this is my good friend, Mo Chanxian.
Yi Xiaogua introduced her.
Chanxian, this is the cheap guy I was telling you about. He's pretty cool, right? Mo Chanxian looked a little embarrassed and whispered, Hello, brother Yi Ning.
Then she fell silent. If they weren't standing close together, Yi Ning probably wouldn't have heard her. Leading the two little ones, Yi Ning came up to Mo Qingqing. Yi Xiaogua also smiled and called out, Sister Qingqing. It was obvious that they had known each other for a long time. After learning that Mo Qingqing had come by bus, Yi Ning took the initiative to invite the Mo sisters to get into his car. Yi Ning's purchase of a car had already surprised Yi Xiaogua, but when the group arrived at the Mercedes-Benz, Yi Xiaogua was even more incredulous.
Brother, this Mercedes-Benz is yours?
Yes, what do you think?
Does it look good? Where did you get so much money?
Yi Xiaogua was curious. Not only Yi Xiaogua, but also Mo Qingqing and her sister were curious. They knew about Yi Xiaogua's family situation. Both parents came from the countryside and saved up some money before buying a house in Yangcheng, which is still an old neighborhood. It can be said that the family's financial situation was worse than it was before the sister's mother fell ill. Under such circumstances, it is unbelievable that Yi Ning was able to drive such an expensive car in just a few years. Of course your brother earned it, Yi Ning said. In fact, Yi Ning also feels very emotional. If it weren't for the system, he would still be a social animal who has accomplished nothing, right? Living a 996 life, facing the double pressure of the boss and customers every day. He is very satisfied with his current life, and he is really grateful to the system.
Yi Ning drove the car towards the hospital in the city center. Because the place where Mo Qingqing and her sister were going was the hospital. Chapter 19 Buying a Villa.
The mood in the car was slightly somber. Just the mention of the hospital could mean something bad had happened. Recalling the sorrow in Mo Qingqing's brow when they met, Yi Ning guessed that things must be pretty serious. When they arrived at the hospital's entrance, Yi Ning stopped the car.
Mo Qingqing took a deep breath and said thank you to Yi Ning.
Yi Ning shook his head to indicate that it was unnecessary. The two sisters got out of the car and stared at Mo Qingqing's thin back. Yining couldn't help but poke his head out the window and say, "Qingqing, if you have any difficulties, just let me know. I'll help you if I can."
Hearing Yining's words, Mo Qingqing's delicate body trembled.
She tilted her head slightly and gave Yining a gentle nod. When Yining's car gradually drove away, she could no longer see his shadow.
Mo Qianqian said, "Brother Yining is really nice and very capable." Mo Qingqing nodded and smiled faintly.
Indeed, he had never changed. On the way home, Yining learned about Mo Qingqing's family situation from Yi Xiaohua. Birth, aging, sickness, and death are the fates that people can never escape from. This burden is placed on Mo Qingqing, who is the same age as Yining, and it is really too heavy for her.
Of course, Yining doesn't mind helping Mo Qingqing a little. But since Mo Qingqing didn't ask, he of course wouldn't just hand over money.
Not only did this make outsiders feel that his motives were impure, but it also hurt Mo Qingqing's pride. He could tell that Mo Qingqing was a proud girl. Otherwise, with her capital, it would not be difficult for her to make money from other sources.
After driving Yi Xiaohua home, the family of four was finally reunited.
At the dinner table, Yining took out a Patek Philippe lady's watch and gave it to his younger sister.
Wow! Patek Philippe!
Yi Xiaohua was overjoyed, and even her favorite chicken drumstick lost its taste. She dropped her chopsticks and grabbed the watch. She had wanted a watch for a long time, but never had the money to buy one. She never imagined that her brother would not only buy it for her, but the most expensive Patek Philippe.
Yining didn't realize that his sister could recognize Patek Philippe.
It seems that high school students nowadays have a wider range of knowledge than Yining and his friends did back then, for better or for worse. You have to be careful at school, don't lose the watch. Ye's mother didn't care if it was a Patek Philippe or 1,000 Patek Philippe. She knew exactly how much her son treasured his younger sister, and naturally bought her the best things. This watch is worth at least 10,000 yuan.
I know, don't worry, Mom.
Yi Xiaohua had not yet recovered from her excitement, so she gobbled down a few mouthfuls of rice, picked up the box containing the watch, and ran into the bedroom. Before closing the door, she loudly exclaimed, "I'm full." Whenever Yi Xiaohua acts in such a flustered manner, Ye's mother can hardly contain her anger.
This girl doesn't even act like a young lady. Yi, it's all your fault.
Ye's mother pointed at Yi and gritted her teeth as she said this. Seeing her father make a long face, Yining covered her mouth to stifle a laugh.
Yining, don't laugh. You're just like your father, always indulging your younger sister.
Well, some things, if you can avoid them on the first day, you can't avoid them on the 15th. The father and son looked at each other, their eyes betraying the helplessness of being a man.
Mom and Dad, since Xiaohui is home, why don't we go look at a house as a family tomorrow?
Yining suggested after they had eaten and drunk their fill. When he said this, it was obvious that the two elders' eyes lit up. The house they were living in was indeed too small. It was fine for the usual family of four to live in. But every Chinese New Year and during the holidays, when relatives and friends came to visit, it would seem especially crowded. Moreover, this is an old residential area built more than 20 years ago, and there are always various problems.
The main thing is that both my son and daughter have grown up. In the future, when they get married, they will need a house, won't they?
Okay, then we'll use the 1 million yuan on Mom's card to buy a bigger house.
Yi Ma made the decision.
In the small city of Yangcheng, the average house price is only about 7,000 yuan, so with 1 million yuan, you can already buy a decent house. Yining felt that it was still too small, and his initial goal was only a villa. The next morning, Lao Yi suddenly received a call from the factory and hurried to work. There was no choice but for Yining to drive and take Yi Ma and Yi Xiaohua out together. Yining had a goal, and he didn't even bother with ordinary properties, going directly to the most expensive place in Yangcheng.
Son, why are you here? The houses here are very expensive.
Even Yi Ma, who is indifferent to property prices, has heard of the famous Jingshui Wan in Yangcheng. If they are going to buy, they will definitely buy the best, otherwise in 20 or 30 years, it will still be like the house they are living in now, and they will regret it. Yi Ma also thinks that it is a good idea, because these houses will be given to her son and daughter in the future, so it is better to buy a better one.
Welcome to Jingshui Wan.
As soon as Yining parked the car, the salesgirl was already standing by waiting.
Is this the treatment for driving a luxury car?
Sir, what type of property would you and the two ladies like to see?
A villa. Yining did not hesitate for a second.
The salesgirl nodded with a smile, not at all surprised.
Are you kidding? Can't you see that this handsome guy is driving a Mercedes-Benz G-Class worth hundreds of thousands of yuan? It's strange for a rich man of this caliber not to buy a villa, right?
Sir, the villas in our Jingshui Bay are all riverside villas, and they are all fully furnished, ready for you to move in at any time. Following the salesgirl, Yining was fine, because this Jingshui Bay was still quite a bit worse than his villa in Jiangcheng, the Yunshan Longjing Villa. But Ye's mother and younger sister, Yi Xiaogua, were dazzled. Especially when they heard the price of the villa, it was like a huge stone had been hung over their hearts.
Don't show us anything else, just tell us which one is the most expensive here.
Yining didn't think it was meaningful to introduce too much, and still followed the principle of buying the most expensive one if you want to buy. Chapter 20 100 times the critical strike, 1.5 billion in cash. Mr. Yi, the price of the villa at One Bayview is 15 million.
Would you like to take a look with me?
The saleswoman's eyebrows shot up when she heard Yining's words. The reason she showed Yining the villas that cost 6 to 7 million was because that was the best-selling price range.
Because houses that cost tens of millions of yuan are not affordable to ordinary wealthy people. That's a huge amount of cash flow. Unless the family has hundreds of millions in assets, who can afford to spend that much on a house?
That's why she took the lead in making an offer, so that Yining would have a rough idea. During that time, she was also constantly observing Yining's expression. From her perspective, she could naturally tell that the three of them were led by Yining.
Okay, let's take this one. Show me. Seeing that Yining didn't even bat an eye, the salesgirl was overjoyed.
So she still underestimated this handsome guy in the Mercedes-Benz G-Class.
Brother, are you buying an expensive house? It's over 10 million yuan. How rich are you?
Yi Xiaogua quietly asked, taking Yining's arm. Ye's mother was also shocked by her son's extravagance.
Over 10 million yuan? How capable is this son of mine? Ha, anyway, I can support you for the rest of your life without any problem.
Yining pinched Yi Xiaogua's face and replied gently.
Nonsense, who needs you to support me?
Yi Xiaogua slapped Yining's hand away, looking disgusted.
In fact, neither of them knew that Yining only had 16 million yuan in cash.
But he wasn't at all panicked.
Who told him that he had the system?
Villa number 1 was a world of difference from the previous villa that cost a few million yuan. Not only was it larger, but the quality of the interior decoration and the delivered furniture and appliances were clearly of a higher grade. Although it was still far inferior to Yining's villa in Jiangcheng, it was still very good.
You have to understand that this was just a small 18th tier city. Mom, what do you think? Yining wanted to hear Yi Ma's opinion.
He would not be living in Yangcheng permanently, and Yi Xiaogua would soon be going to university, so the house would mostly be used by the two of them. The house was nice, but it was also very expensive. Faced with over 10 million yuan, Yi Ma was also a little unsure. Yining smiled and said, if you like it, just buy it.
It will be convenient for you to have more guests in the future.
Seeing Yi Ma's expression, Yining knew that Yi Ma was very tempted by this villa. Go get the contract, I'll buy it, the full amount.
Great. Just a moment, I'll get the contract ready.
The sales assistant was overwhelmed with joy, and quickly ran to the sales hall in her high heels.
What do you think? Xiaoli, did they buy it? The sales manager looked at the assistant named Xiaoli expectantly when she arrived.
The Mirror Lake Bay houses were selling well, but there weren't many villas sold, and this was a rare big order.
They've decided to buy Villa 1. What number? Say that again.
The manager thought he had heard wrong and raised his voice a little.
Villa number 1, the one with the number 1.
Li trembled with excitement as she took the cup of tea the manager poured for her and gulped it down. And Mr. Yi said he would pay the full price.
Villa number 1. And the full price too. How rich is he? Hurry up, what are you doing standing there without preparing the contract? The manager yelled at the staff in the finance office.
The contract was printed out, and the manager and Xiaoli went to Villa number 1 together.
Hello, Mr. Yi, I am the sales manager of Jingshui 1. The contract is ready for you to sign now? Yes, now. Yining gave the contract to Ye's mother. Mom, I have a house in Jiangcheng, so let's put your name on this one.
Yining would never put his own name on it, because the system's trigger probability crit was to buy it for a woman.
You can't waste every crit opportunity. Why write my name? Why not write Xiaogua's name instead? Yi Ma said. That's fine. Yining said. Ha? No, 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 I.
Yi Xiaoguo's words were cut short.
Sign it.
Yi Ning and Yi Ma said in unison.
Oh.
Yi Xiaoguo pouted, and silently picked up the contract and wrote her name on it. The manager and Shelley, who were sitting nearby, were shocked when they saw this.
The house is in your name, why do you still look reluctant? This is 15 million yuan. Hey! Ding!
The host, Yi Xiaoguo, has spent 15 million yuan and received a 100x cash bonus of 1.5 billion yuan.
The 100x cashback has appeared again. Just spent over 10 million yuan and got 1.5 billion yuan in return. This is so cool.
Luckily, I didn't write my name, or it would have been just 150 million at most.
I almost lost over 1 billion yuan.
After buying the house, Yi Ning took Yi Ma and Yi Xiaoguo to the shopping mall to go shopping. They bought a lot of household goods, but they didn't spend tens of thousands of dollars in total, and they didn't have any critical strikes. On the way home, Yi Ning's phone suddenly rang. "Brother, the phone is ringing." Yi Xiaoguo held the phone on the back seat and reached forward. "I'll drive, you answer it for me," Yi Ning said casually. Yi Xiaoguo looked at the screen and realized that it was actually a video call, and it was from a woman named Su Wire. A sly smile crossed her face, and she silently turned up the volume on the call before pressing the answer button. "Yi Ning, I've got the car, come take a look." As soon as the video call connected, a clear and pleasant voice came from the other end of the line. But the next moment, when Su Wire saw that the person on the screen was actually not Yi Ning, but a strange little beauty, she subconsciously thought she had dialed the wrong number. "Sorry, I dialed the wrong number." Su Wire was about to hang up when Yi Xiaoguo quickly stopped her. "Sister Wei, you didn't dial the wrong number.
My brother is driving, and I'm Yi Xiaoguo."
The moment Yi Ning heard Su Wire's voice, he knew he was in trouble.
How could he have forgotten that it was Su Wire's turn to pick up the car? Especially when Yi Ma turned around and looked at Yi Xiaoguo in the back seat in an instant. Chapter 21 Yi Lao, Danger. You are Yi Ning's younger sister?
Hello, Xiaoguo, you are really pretty. When Su Wire learned that this little beauty was Yi Ning's younger sister, she let out a sigh of relief, thank goodness. At the same time, she was shocked by the powerful genes of Yi Ning's family. Both brother and sister have immortal looks, this is amazing.
Yi Ning. Why don't you say something?
It's a good thing your sister answered, because if it was your uncle or aunt, it would be so embarrassing. After a moment, Su Wire said angrily. Suddenly, the car was incredibly quiet, and the expressions of the Yi siblings froze.
Cough, cough. Yi Ning coughed twice deliberately.
Su Wire saw that Yi Ning didn't answer, and Yi Xiaoguo didn't say anything either, and she realized that something was wrong.
Air. Xiaoguo, it can't be. Su Wire's momentum obviously weakened a bit. Xiaoguo, give me your brother's phone.
Without waiting for Yi Xiaoguo to say anything, Ye's mother was practically beaming with joy, reaching out to Yi Xiaoguo. Suddenly, on Su Wire's screen, a middle-aged beautiful woman appeared, with a few similarities between her eyebrows and Yi Ning. Su Wire's face turned red, and she gritted her teeth, ah. She was now as panicked as she could be, and she could hardly hold the phone steady. The moment Ye's mother saw Su Wire, her eyes lit up. This girl is really pretty. And she blushed when she saw my face, so she must be a simple girl.
If you can't call me auntie, just call me mom.
Ye's mother teased her with a smile.
Ah, mom. Puff.
Yi Ning was stunned by this sudden cry, and almost stepped on the wrong brake. Yi Xiaoguo in the back seat also kept laughing. Even the usually reserved mother's brain stopped for a second because of this cry of mom. Good. Immediately, Ye's mother was overjoyed, and the smile on her lips could not be stopped. The moment Su Wire accidentally let out a cry, she kept blushing and did not dare to speak.
Today was really embarrassing. It was all Yi Ning's fault, the big bully.
For the next half hour, Su Wire was asked this and that by Ye's mother, and she was just short of giving out her ID number. The moment the phone hung up, Su Wire finally let out a sigh of relief. Although her face was still flushed, she still hated Yi Ning with a vengeance. But she had a little bit of inexplicable joy. She could tell that Yi Ning's mother really liked her. At least the first hurdle had been overcome. If they got married in the future.
Oops. Su Wire, do you know how to be ashamed? Just stop thinking nonsense.
Su Wire rested her forehead against the steering wheel of the Porsche 911, sometimes blushing, sometimes giggling. After hanging up the phone, Yima still looked like she was enjoying herself. Son, this girl is not bad, I really like her. She handed Yi Xiaoguo Yining's phone and asked, when are you going to bring her back so your father and I can take a look?
Yining understood that
things had developed to the point where no matter how he explained, Yima already regarded Su Wire as his daughter-in-law. So he could only respond, I'll try my best. What do you mean try your best? Mommy pretended to be angry and said, next time, if you don't bring little Su over, don't bother coming back. Yining didn't expect that in just a short while, his own mother had disowned him.
Mom, you're too.
What?
Mom Ye's eyes narrowed. Yining sneered, that's so reasonable.
Humph.
Mom Yi showed the expression of a victor.
Yi Xiaoguo was laughing so hard in the back seat that his stomach ached. He hugged his stomach and frowned, unable to straighten his back.
Yining prepared dinner that night.
Under Yima's suspicious gaze, Yining successively served poached pork slices, chicken with bamboo shoots, and other hard dishes such as husband and wife lung slices. To be honest, since obtaining his master chef status, Yining has never cooked a meal by himself. But when Ye's mother saw the dinner her son had prepared, she was still incredibly surprised. Regardless of the taste, at least in terms of color, these dishes were better than the ones she had made. At dinner time, Yi also returned home, and the first thing he did was take off his thin jacket and go into the bathroom.
The food today is pretty good.
Yi washed his face and came to the table. Well, I've made a few improvements, so you try the taste and see which one is better than before. Before Yining and his sister could say anything, Ye's mother spoke up, tenderly placing a slice of beef in front of Yi.
Yi didn't suspect anything, and put the beef in his mouth.
A sauce mixed with the unique rich aroma of the beef exploded on his tongue.
It was delicious.
Yi took a sip of wine, and a satisfied expression appeared on his face.
What do you think? Is that better than what I made before?
Ye's mother's mouth curved up, and a smile remained on her face. Although she was a little surprised by her wife's strange behavior today, Yi didn't think too much about it.
Moreover, today's meal was indeed a big improvement over the past.
As his wife's cooking skills improved, he, as her husband, naturally wanted to praise her.
Today's dish is really ahem.
Yining held his fist in front of his mouth to cover it, embarrassed, as he was choked. At the same time, he finally noticed that his daughter Yi Xiaoguo kept giving him winks. When he thought about his wife's strange behavior, he shrank back in fear.
So that's what happened.
My dear mother, that was close.
Go on, what's wrong with today's meal?
Ye's mother asked with a smile in her eyes. However, that smile looked so cold and piercing to Yi that a chill ran up his legs.
Today's dishes are indeed not as tasty as before.
Yi Laosan said solemnly.
Wife, it's best to leave it as it is.
The usual is the best.
Yi Laosan stared deeply into Yi Mama's eyes. Yi Mama's eyes narrowed with a smile. Really?
Of course. That's fine, eat your vegetables and enjoy your son's cooking. Yi Mama busied herself, and gave Yi Laosan a chicken leg.
Didn't you say you made it?
Yi Laosan pretended to be surprised.
Did I say that?
No.
Yi Laoshi shakes his head in unison with his siblings.
After dinner, Yining leaned against the balcony with a cup of tea.
Ring ring ring. The phone rang. He picked up the phone and Mo Qingqing's name appeared on the screen. Chapter 22 Class Reunion.
Yining originally thought that Mo Qingqing was seeking help because of her mother's illness.
However, Mo Qingqing only asked him if he would attend the class reunion.
After Yining confirmed, Mo Qingqing expressed her wish to go with Yining.
Yining readily agreed to this request. The following afternoon,
Yining drove Yi Xiaoguo and followed the navigation to the building below Mo Qingqing's home. The sisters Mo Qingqing and Mo Chanshan seemed to have been waiting for a while. Yi Xiaoguo and Mo Chanshan sat in tacit agreement in the back seat, leaving the only passenger seat for Mo Qingqing. During this time, Yining even saw through the rearview mirror that Yi Xiaoguo was frantically giving Mo Chanshan suggestive looks, and he really felt hopeless. Yining didn't understand why, after learning about Su Wire, her younger sister still wanted to help him get Mo Qingqing on board.
Did she really want her brother to be a scumbag? Of course, we are.
Mo Qingqing smiled helplessly at Yining, then opened the front door of the car. Today, Mo Qingqing was still wearing a skirt, but she had changed from green to purple. However, no matter what color she wore, she could not hide her stunning appearance.
Who says cuteness is worthless in the face of sexiness? At least for Mo Qingqing, cuteness is justice. Brother, after you drop me and Shanshan off at school, will you go on a date with Qingqing?
Halfway there, Yi Xiaoguo teased loudly, covering her mouth and laughing. Yi Ning was already used to Yi Xiaoguo's character and remained expressionless in the face of her teasing. Of course, this was also closely related to Yi Ning's own thick skin. But Mo Qingqing had a thin skin, and although she didn't show it, if you looked closely, you could still see the blush on the tips of her ears. First, Qingqing and I are going to a class reunion. And I have to pick someone up later. Yi Ning explained slowly. He naturally hadn't forgotten his good friend Li Hu, and Yi Ning was not the kind of person to put his friends before his love. Arriving at the school gate, Yi Ning pulled over.
Brother, I'm leaving. Don't you have anything to say to me?
Yi Xiaoguo asked.
Yi Ning thought for a moment, study hard. Humph. Boring, skip it.
Yi Xiaoguo stuck out her tongue and pulled Mo Qianshan's hand as she walked towards the school gate.
Let's go.
After seeing Yi Xiaoguo and her friend enter the school, Yi Ning slowly started the engine. Li Hu lived on the outskirts of the city in an old-fashioned bungalow. When they were in high school, Yi Ning had visited his house many times. However, Li Hu was not good at studying. Although he barely managed to get into a junior college, he dropped out for various reasons. Now he works on an assembly line, barely making enough to get by. Yi Ning pulled up in front of Li Hu's house and honked the horn twice. 10 seconds later, a man with short hair and nearly 1.9 meters tall walked out of the red lacquered iron gate.
Li Hu's face lit up when he saw Yi Ning. You've come a long way, Yi Zi, you're driving a Mercedes-Benz G-Class.
Li Hu had known that Yi Ning had bought a new car a few days ago, but he never imagined it would be a Mercedes-Benz.
And it's the Mercedes-Benz G-Class that every man and woman dreams of. Don't deny it, think about it, would you say you don't dream of it?
Li Hu, who was just about to walk over to the passenger seat, heard a pleasant and familiar greeting from the car at this moment. Li Hu, good afternoon, do you remember me?
Ha!
After taking a good look at the beautiful woman in the passenger seat, Li Hu reluctantly recognized her as Mo Qingqing, the class flower in high school. Li Hu scratched the back of his head and smiled, then opened the back door and got in. I remember, she was the class flower.
Yi Zi, you're amazing.
Li Hu patted Yi Ning's shoulder and gave him a quiet thumbs up. You have to know that in high school, not only in his class, but also in other grades and even in other schools, many guys had chased after Mo Qingqing, but without exception, they all ended in failure. At that time, most people in the class thought that the reason the class flower rejected everyone else was probably because of Yi Ning. Yi Ning did have a crush on Mo Qingqing back then, but he never expressed his feelings, not even until they graduated from high school. Li Hu felt sorry for his friend for a long time, but he never expected the two of them to end up together.
Could this be called fate?
Yi Ning knew that Li Hu must have misunderstood his relationship with Mo Qingqing, but he didn't explain much.
What if it really worked out? As the Mercedes-Benz pulled into the Jinyan Hotel, several pairs of eyes fell upon it.
In particular, the several well-dressed women at the entrance looked at the Mercedes-Benz with green eyes, wishing they could be sitting in the passenger seat. Li Hu in the back seat and Mo Qingqing in the passenger seat were the first to open the car door.
Look! Isn't that Mo Qingqing? And that man, is he Li Hu? The several people gathered at the entrance recognized the identity of the two at a glance.
I didn't realize they were the ones sitting in the car.
Who is the owner?
A curly-haired woman with a crystal bag asked herself, and she had a guess in her mind. Her name was Yu Yao, and she was passable-looking. Coupled with her knack for dressing up, she had attracted quite a few suitors in her class back in the day. It was just that she had her eye on Yi Ning, the class flower. Back then, when she confessed her feelings to Yi Ning simply said no, and the young Yu Yao almost burst into tears. Now when she thinks about it, there is still a touch of sadness in her heart. Of course, everyone is now an adult, and not long ago Yu Yao also held a wedding, so these things are like a fleeting cloud. When she saw Yi Ning get out of the car, a look of realization came over her face.
Look, it's Yi Ning!
Yu Yao's best friend Bei Shuyuan exclaimed. He's still so handsome, and he's actually doing so well for himself. Thinking about this, Bei Shuyuan looked sad, and she wished she had tried harder in the past. Maybe it would have worked out, and now she would be a rich wife. Of course, this thought flashed through her mind for a moment. From the moment Mo Qingqing got out of Yi Ning's car, all the girls realized that they didn't stand a chance. Chapter 23 Rumor has it that the Jinyan Hotel
is the place to be.
Coincidentally, when all the gay men present saw Yi Ning and Mo Qingqing,
who looked like a golden boy and a jade girl. Their hearts broke at the same time. Although many of them were already married with children, who could forget their first love? As for Li Hu, who had come with them, they had long since ignored him. What's going on? Why are you all gathered at the door? Yi Ning walked over and greeted them with a smile. It's not that we're surprised to see a handsome guy and a beautiful girl, we're so shocked we can't even walk. Yu Yao's face flashed with a hint of complexity, and she joked. Exactly, you two are not being loyal, you've been together without us knowing. Bei Shuyuan agreed from the side. Exactly, at least you should have made an official announcement. What kind of underground party is this? Even Li Hu, who was standing nearby, nodded towards Yi Ning. Yi Ning smiled bitterly in his heart. Even if he did have feelings for Mo Qingqing, at least they were still innocent. But it would be a miracle if these people believed him when he came forward to clarify the situation. As if sensing Yi Ning's confusion, Mo Qingqing leaned slightly closer to Yi Ning, until their arms touched. Just as Yi Ning was puzzled, a soft and tender feeling came from his arm. Along with it came a fresh, sweet scent, which came from Mo Qingqing. Mo Qingqing didn't care about Yi Ning's surprised gaze, and very naturally took hold of Yi Ning's arm. It's not too late to announce it now, so everyone should stop making things difficult for Yi Ning. Mo Qingqing gave a playful smile. I feel full, so I don't need to eat this meal. You two are really hateful, sneaking around behind our backs is fine, but you're also coming here to spread dog food. Yi Ning, you're not going to get away with this. Yes, get him drunk. A large group of male classmates hated Yi Ning and were determined to teach him a lesson. Before they knew it, it was time for dinner. At the dinner table, everyone tacitly refrained from talking about work, income, and other such topics. Openly discussing such topics would inevitably embarrass some people. Besides, when it comes to income, who can compare with Yi Ning? The most talked about topic was the various interesting things that happened in high school. For example, someone had a secret crush on someone, and how someone in high school fell in love with someone. But when it comes to love, we all felt that the reason the class flower didn't fall in love was because of Yi Ning. Isn't that right? Yu Yao asked loudly, holding a wine glass. Yes, tell us, class flower, we're all curious. Back then, I even confessed to the class flower, but I was rejected on the spot. A male classmate said with a pretense of sadness. A friend next to him patted his shoulder and said, Lao Nya, you're still lucky. I wrote a love letter to the class flower, but it was blown away by the wind before I could give it to her. Since then, I've given up. It's as if the heavens themselves are stopping me. Facing everyone's questions, Mo Qingqing gave a wry smile, then looked at Yi Ning, her expression inexplicable. Yi Ning was a little flustered by Mo Qingqing's gaze. In fact, he had secretly been happy about this rumor at the time. Not to mention others, Yi Ning also wanted to know the answer. In high school, I was only interested in studying and really had no interest in dating. Mo Qingqing explained with a smile. Just as everyone thought that was the end of it, Mo Qingqing's ears turned slightly red and she continued in a low voice. But at the time, I was also shy because of this rumor, and now, it's the same. After saying this, Mo Qingqing turned her face to the other side with a glass in her hand, leaving Yi Ning with a beautiful back view. Oh, so that's how it is. The rumors are true. Yi Ning, I really envy you. A group of people started to make a scene, looking at the two of them and wishing them well. Only Yi Ning stayed in place, reaching out to Mo Qingqing as if he wanted to grab something. When he was about to touch Mo Qingqing's collar, his 5 fingers bent, and he finally let go. I'm sorry, Qingqing. Yi Ning whispered. When Yi Ning said this, Mo Qingqing's delicate body trembled slightly. After a moment of silence, Mo Qingqing turned around, her face still smiling, and raised her glass to Yi Ning. Yi Ning understood the meaning behind her words, and after clinking glasses, he gulped it down. Today, Yi Ning had drunk quite a lot, and Mo Qingqing even more so. After eating and drinking their fill, everyone present was walking unsteadily, and they could fall at any time. Yi Ning took advantage of the break to go to the bathroom, and quickly went to the cashier's counter. Sir, your total consumption is 25,800 yuan, how would you like to pay? By card. Yi Ning took out a bank card. By the way, can you book 20 standard rooms for me? He thought that everyone had drunk quite a bit, and naturally if someone came to pick them up, they wouldn't need to stay here tonight. Okay, sir. Ding. Host consumes 32,800 yuan, receives a critical strike, and is rewarded with ownership of the Jinyang Hotel. The sound of the system's voice made Yi Ning's drunkenness dissipate quite a bit.
Although the Jinyang Hotel was far inferior to the Jiangnan Hotel in Jiangcheng, for a few tens of thousands of dollars to get a hotel, only a fool would not do it. One word, awesome. Yi Ning returned to the table and told everyone that he had paid for the meal and booked a room. Finally, amidst waves of farewells, the class reunion finally came to an end. Yi Ning put his arm around the half-drunk, half-awake Mo Qingqing and walked with the classmates who planned to stay the night here to their respective room doors. Chapter 24 Mo Qingqing's decision. Several male classmates gave Yi Ning a wink that only men understood before entering the room. Even Li Hu whispered in Yi Ning's ear to be careful. Crawl for me. Yi Ning scolded with a smile. Li Hu laughed, and his burly figure disappeared from Yi Ning's sight. The standard room had 2 beds, and Yi Ning helped Mo Qingqing lie down on one of them. Qingqing, Qingqing. Yi Ning pushed Mo Qingqing's shoulder and said, wake up first, wash up, and then go back to sleep. Ha! Mo Qingqing's eyes were half open, looking at Yi Ning and giggling twice, then she closed her eyes again. It seems that this girl is completely drunk. I really don't know why she had to drink so much. Mo Qingqing's face was covered with the blush of drunkenness, looking very cute. Unable to help but swallow his saliva, he suppressed his urge. He took out a towel to help Mo Qingqing wash her cheeks a little, and he kept busy until the early morning. After taking a shower and stepping out of the bathroom, he saw Mo Qingqing sleeping soundly, so he could only go to the other bed and fall asleep. Early the next morning, Yi Ning, who was sleeping, vaguely heard the sound of running water. After a brief frown, he opened his sleepy eyes. At the same time, the shower was turned off, the bathroom door was pushed open, and Mo Qingqing wrapped in a bath towel walked out of the bathroom. Her hair was damp, with water droplets clinging to the ends, and although she was barefaced, she was still absolutely beautiful. Her fair shoulders were exposed, and her beautiful collarbone was clearly visible. Yi Ning had already been mesmerized. Mo Qingqing now looked like a lotus flower emerging from the water, so beautiful. Of course, Mo Qingqing still lacked a bit of capital, after all, she was petite. You're awake. After taking her shower, Mo Qingqing came inside and saw Yi Ning staring at her in a daze. She was a little embarrassed, but also a little pleased. Yi Ning, last night. I didn't do anything last night. Yi Ning immediately explained. A flash of loss in her eyes, Mo Qingqing nodded. Then, she picked up the hairdryer on the table and asked, can you blow dry my hair? Sure. Yi Ning got up, took the hairdryer, and went behind Mo Qingqing. It was slightly cool in her hands, and it also had a faint fragrance of shampoo. Mo Qingqing's hair is really good, and it's very soft. Even at the end, Yi Ning didn't want to let go. Okay. Yi Ning turned off the hairdryer and put it down. Mo Qingqing didn't turn around, but her frail body seemed to be trembling. Yi Ning, do I look good? Mo Qingqing's voice seemed to be tinged with tears. The sudden question made Yi Ning think he had heard it wrong. Qingqing, what did you say? I said, do I look good? Mo Qingqing's voice rose slightly. You look good. This time Yi Ning did not hesitate for a moment and blurted out what was on his mind. Why is that? Last night I deliberately got drunk to give you a chance, why are you still indifferent? Mo Qingqing turned around, her eyes red. Yi Ning's heart was racing. Damn it! Does that mean that last night was the correct answer? But Yi Ning immediately rejected the idea. He did lust after Mo Qingqing, but at least both parties should be sober, right? Yi Ning, I'm really tired. You should have heard about my family situation from Shagua, right? Yi Ning nodded to indicate that he had heard. Yi Ning, take me, and then lend me 500,000 yuan, okay? Mo Qingqing buried her head in Yi Ning's chest, and her slender arms tightly encircled Yi Ning's waist. Feeling the trembling delicate body in his arms, Yi Ning had a mixed feeling in his heart. It was hard to imagine how much courage the strong girl must have had to make such a decision. He reached out his right hand and stroked the back of Mo Qingqing's head, running his fingers through her hair. Perhaps feeling the warmth of Yi Ning's palm, Mo Qingqing gradually stopped being nervous. Qingqing, I told you, as long as you ask, I will help. Yi Ning also wanted Mo Qingqing, but never under such circumstances. He didn't want anything else mixed up in his feelings for Mo Qingqing. But I really don't know how to ask you for it. Mo Qingqing's voice was soft and pliable, as if she were being coquettish. It's okay, just consider it a loan from me. You can owe as long as you like. 500,000, Yi Ning really didn't care. If it was really needed, what did 5 million or 50 million matter? After saying this, Yi Ning transferred 1 million yuan to Mo Qingqing on the spot. Seeing the transfer information, Mo Qingqing exclaimed, "That's a lot more than I expected."
I said 500,000 yuan, why did you transfer so much? It's not much. I need to buy some nutritious food for the auntie to recover. These things all cost money. This is 1 million yuan, how can you expect me to pay it back? A hint of worry flashed across Mo Qingqing's face. Yi Ning gave a wicked smile at the corner of his mouth, and if you can't pay it back, then don't pay it back. What do you mean? Just think of it as a bride price, ha ha ha.
Mo Qingqing thought about it for a long time before she understood Yi Ning's meaning. She pouted her lips and said coquettishly, "Nuisance, I see that's how you coax other girls." This morning, she accidentally saw the phone Yi Ning had left on the bedside table. There was a chat message from a girl on the screen, and she instantly understood. But she would not bring it up, and continued, "Besides, where is there a bride price of 1 million?
Yi Ning gave Mo Qingqing a strange look. Young lady, you don't know because you've never seen it.
Yi Ning had only experienced the million yuan bride price incident 2 days ago. Some people even want a car worth 500,000 yuan and a house of 200 square meters. Seeing that it was getting late, the two of them got dressed, although of course, Mo Qingqing got dressed in the bathroom.
Bang bang bang. Just then, there was a loud pounding on the door. Chapter 25 Do you dare? Mo Qingqing. Open the door. I know you're in there. MD, you son of a bitch. The aisle was filled with the angry shouting of a man. Yi Ning's brows were knitted together, while Mo Qingqing was a little scared.
"Yi Ning, this person is my college classmate, and he's been chasing after me, but I haven't agreed to it yet,"
Mo Qingqing explained anxiously. Yi Ning looked at her unexpectedly and said with a smile, "Why are you so nervous? Are you afraid I'll misunderstand?"
"You, annoying, at this hour, still have the heart to joke."
Mo Qingqing gave Yi Ning a look. "Don't be afraid, you stay inside, I'll go out and take a look." After saying that, Yi Ning got up and tried to open the door.
"I'll go with you, I also want to see what he really wants."
Mo Qingqing took hold of Yi Ning's arm and her eyes were cold.
When she opened the door, she saw that quite a few people had gathered in the hallway, most of them Yi Ning's classmates. Everyone had drunk a bit too much last night and had only just woken up. There was also a man in a suit with shiny polished leather shoes. He looked average, with sunken eyes, and looked like he had overindulged and was not in good spirits. When he saw Yi Ning and Mo Qingqing walk out of the room, Yi Wei's face turned hideous.
Mo Qingqing, I thought you were pure, but it turns out you are also a...
Yi Wei's words were not finished.
Pop.
Yi Ning directly slapped him twice in the face. "Watch your mouth, you curse, and I'll slap you." His cheeks instantly turned red, and the burning pain hit, making Yi Wei's mouth twitch slightly.
WCNM. How dare you slap me? I want you dead.
Yi Wei stared at Yi Ning viciously. He had never been slapped before.
"And you, Mo Qingqing, this is the man, right?
I'll give you 500,000 yuan and you won't do it, but you follow such a white face."
"Bitch!" Yi Wei roared.
Yi Ning saw that Yi Wei was still swearing, so he directly kicked Yi Wei in the stomach, kicking him 2 meters away. Yi Wei, who had been hollowed out by women all day, could not withstand Yi Ning's kicking power, covering his stomach and curling up on the ground rolling.
"Yi Zi, what's going on?"
Li Hu also arrived at Yi Ning's side at this moment. He had just been awakened by the noise and still didn't understand the situation.
Yi Ning explained roughly, and Li Hu instantly became angry. "MD. How can I put up with this?" So he walked directly in front of Yi Wei and gave him 2 kicks. Perhaps this is the reason why Yi Ning and Li Hu can become brothers?
In these matters, Li Hu has never been ambiguous. "Kid, you're good, my dad is the general manager of this Jinyang hotel, and if you can walk out of here today, I'll admit defeat." Then Yi Wei pulled out his phone and said, "Dad, your son was beaten up in your hotel, are you going to do anything about it?" On the other end of the line, He Gongchang was already in a bad mood because of the sudden change of ownership of the hotel. When he heard that his son had been beaten up, and that it happened in the Jinyang hotel, he was even more furious.
"Didn't you tell them who I was?"
"Yes, but there were a lot of them and they were very arrogant."
"Dad, you'd better come over here quickly."
"Okay, I'll be right there." After hanging up the phone, Yi Wei returned to his arrogant self from earlier.
"Kid, you're finished. Yi Zi, something's not right here." Why don't we just leave?
Li Hu whispered a suggestion. As the saying goes, a real man doesn't take losses in the face of adversity.
After all, this is someone else's territory. If a fight breaks out, we'll definitely lose.
Mo Qingqing grasped Yining's hand a little tighter and looked at Yining with a worried face.
Several old classmates also persuaded Yining, why don't we listen to Li Hu and leave the hotel first? Only Yining looked calm.
Don't be afraid, just wait and watch the show.
Then he patted Li Hu on the shoulder and said, Tiger, do you want to be a leader?
Yes, I've always dreamed of it.
What do you mean, Yi Zi?
Li Hu was puzzled.
Just say you want to, and get ready to take office. No one knew what Yining meant, except Mo Qingqing, whose eyes twinkled as if she had guessed something.
I want to see which one of you dares to hit my son on my turf.
I must send him to jail today.
Before anyone arrived, a middle-aged man's voice came from the end of the corridor. Not only had He Gongqing arrived, but several senior hotel staff and the security department had also come.
Dad, you finally arrived. He Wei was overjoyed to see He Gongqing and the large group of people behind him.
He Gongqing saw the clear palm print on his son's face and the footprints on his body, and he instantly became furious.
Which one of you hit my son? Come forward and admit it. Me.
Yining came forward, his expression teasing.
What? You want to take revenge on me?
He Gongqing didn't expect someone to actually admit it, and in such an arrogant tone. But when he looked at Yining's face, his pupils shrank, and he looked shocked.
Isn't this person Yining, the new owner of the Jinyang Hotel? Not only did he recognize Yining's identity, the hotel executives behind him also recognized Yining as their boss.
He glanced silently at He Gongqing's back, took a few steps back, and took the initiative to draw a line with He Gongqing.
Revenge? He Wei hadn't noticed the unpleasant expression on his father's face, and said triumphantly, Didn't you hear what my dad said? I'm going to send you to the police station today, you're finished, ha ha ha. Ha, send me in? Do you dare?
Yining's expression was slightly tense, and he was angry without being intimidating. He pointed his finger at He Gongqing and said, Go ask your father if he dares. Only then did He Wei see the beads of sweat on his father's forehead, his face pale, and his lips trembling.
He was no fool.
He suddenly knew that the person in front of him was someone that even his father could not afford to offend. He had caused a big trouble. Chapter 26 The end of He Gongqing and his son.
Old boss, I'm sorry, my son offended you, it's because I didn't teach him well.
He Gongqing explained. Then he slapped He Wei directly, and quickly apologized to Yi Zong.
Boss? Yi Zong? The general manager of the Jinyang Hotel actually called Yining boss. It's impossible for Yining's classmates not to be shocked. They never imagined that this Jinyang Hotel actually belonged to Yining.
Then it seemed that he remembered something, and the look in his eyes as he looked at Li Hu was one of envy. They had not forgotten Yining's earlier question to Li Hu about whether he wanted to be a leader.
I'm sorry, Yi Zong, I'm sorry I was wrong.
He Wei's mouth was bitter, and he bent his knees and knelt on the ground. He knew full well the huge mess he had caused today. Not to mention the women who coveted Yining, he even wanted to send Yining away for a few days, so it was not an exaggeration to say that he had a deep grudge. Now he just hopes Yining will be magnanimous and at least not get his father, the general manager, into trouble.
Isn't the source of his arrogance that his father He Gongqing can make money?
Yining ignored him and didn't even look at He Gongqing again.
He looked directly behind He Gongqing and asked, Is the human resources director here?
Yes. A middle-aged Mediterranean man answered.
Starting today, you are relieved of your duties as general manager. I want everyone associated with He Gongqing fired, is that clear?
Yes, boss.
He Gongqing heard Yining's order and fell to his knees, wailing, No, boss. Even if I have no merit, I have at least worked hard. Yining glanced at him lightly and continued, Financial director?
Boss. A woman in a suit replied, looking quite capable. Check every single item in He Gongqing's accounts, and send the evidence directly to the police station.
Understood. Yining didn't believe it.
If He Wei dared to spend 500,000 yuan on a girl, He Gongqing must be a person who pocketed money for personal gain. What a joke! Yining's words were like a bolt from the blue, and He Gongqing and his son were shocked. He knew very well that he was greedy, and those fake accounts simply couldn't stand up to scrutiny.
It's over.
This was the first thought in He Gongqing's mind. Chief of Security, during the period of the financial audit, keep a close eye on these two father and son.
If one of them runs away, you don't need to come back. Do you understand?
Yes, I promise to complete the task.
The chief of security was sweating.
This new boss looked young, but he spoke and acted with great determination. The pressure was enormous. Oh yes, I saw that the son of the former general manager seemed to be quite angry.
The brothers in the security department should cool him down. If you do a good job, your bonus for this month will be doubled.
Several security guards heard Yi Ning's order and their eyes glowed with gold. They looked at Yi Wei and a menacing smile appeared on their faces.
Yi Ning didn't want to know what happened afterwards. He walked downstairs with his classmates and arrived at the hotel entrance. Yi Ning. One of his classmates looked a little embarrassed and hesitated.
Yi Ning guessed what was on his mind from the way he looked at him.
What is it? You can tell me.
It's just that.
Can I also work at Jinyang?
I studied finance in college and I have the credentials. Several of his high school classmates, who were not doing well in their jobs, also looked at Yi Ning with anticipation. They also wanted to change jobs. The Jinyang Hotel offered high salaries and good benefits, so who wouldn't want to come?
You don't need to tell me about this. Yi Ning shook his head.
Seeing this, a group of people revealed looks of disappointment, but there was nothing they could do. Yi Ning's help was a matter of sentiment, and not helping was just his job.
Jobs were always a two-way choice, not based on unilateral wishes.
Yi Ning saw the expressions on the faces of the several people and knew that they would misunderstand, so he smiled and said, "What I mean is, you can just tell Li Hu directly, he is now the general manager of the hotel." Upon hearing this, the crowd was filled with ecstasy. It turned out that Yi Ning still cared for them, his old classmates, and they knew that Yi Ning was not the type of person who would become arrogant with wealth.
Ah! Yi Zi, you're not joking, are you?
Li Hu was dumbfounded.
What joke? From today onwards, you will be the general manager of the Jinyang Hotel.
Li Hu didn't think that a high school graduate like himself could become the general manager of the famous Jinyang Hotel in Yangchang.
He rubbed his hands together and said, "Aren't you afraid that I'll ruin the hotel? If I do, so be it. It's only worth 200 or 300 million.
Yi Ning really didn't care.
Compared to his assets in Zhangcheng, this amount was too small.
Besides, he had 15 billion in cash in his bag, so he really didn't care about a hotel worth 200 or 300 million. And he also believed that people are trained, and Li Hu slowly learned. After bidding farewell to his old classmates, Yi Ning first took Li Hu home, and then took Mo Qingqing to the city hospital.
Are you going up too?
Seeing Yi Ning get out of the car after him, Mo Qingqing asked doubtfully.
What, just because I gave the bride price, you can't let me meet your mother-in-law? Yi Ning teased.
Mo Qingqing blushed, gave Yi Ning a glare with her beautiful eyes, and turned around and walked towards the inpatient building. Of course, she pretended to be oblivious to Yi Ning, who was following her. She just smiled from time to time and showed a few white teeth when Yi Ning couldn't see her. Yi Ning quickly walked up to her and grabbed Mo Qingqing's delicate little hand, holding it in the palm of his hand.
Mo Qingqing struggled a little, but then she let Yi Ning have his way.
She just looked away, exposing her rosy little ears, which were extremely cute.
Chapter 27 Li Qingru. Hospital, inside a patient's room.
Behind a long white curtain, a middle-aged beautiful woman is sitting on the bed, holding a cup of hot water in her hands. Her face is pale, showing signs of illness, as she stares blankly out the window.
"Mom, why are you sitting up?" Mo Qingqing sees her mother and quickly walks over to the bed.
Seeing her daughter bustling about, Li Qingru feels a pang of pain in her heart. She knows very well that her daughter has given up so much for her. Sometimes she really wants to just walk away, but whenever she sees her two daughters, Mo Qingqing and Mo Chanqian, she feels so grateful to be alive.
"Qingqing, who is this?"
Li Qingru of course noticed Yi Ning, who had come to the ward with Mo Qingqing.
"Mom, this is Yi Ning, a classmate from high school."
As Mo Qingqing introduced her, Yi Ning also took the initiative to greet her and put the fruit basket she was holding on the bedside table.
"Hello, Auntie." Li Qingru nodded, "Hello."
Her gaze kept scanning Yi Ning. Needless to say, Yi Ning was good-looking, and he was also quite tall. He had a sunny smile, and Li Qingru nodded in secret, thinking that her daughter had good taste.
Of course, she understood that Yi Ning was more than just her daughter's classmate. Otherwise, why had her daughter not brought any of her other classmates to the hospital, but just Yi Ning?
Secondly, when Mo Qingqing introduced Yining, she had acted like a little girl, clearly showing that she was attached to him. Of course, she doesn't have high expectations of her son-in-law. As long as he is good to her daughter, that's enough.
Is Li Qingru's family here?
A nurse carrying a notebook came to the door of the ward.
Mo Qingqing walked up to her at once.
The two of them spoke in a low voice for a while, then Mo Qingqing followed the nurse out of the ward. Li Qingru looked worried when she saw this. She knew full well that this meant her daughter was going to ask her to pay the various hospital fees again.
After 2 months in the hospital, Mo Qingqing would pay the medical fees almost every other week. Although Mo Qingqing had never said how much it cost, it was definitely not a small amount.
And she knew very well that the subsequent surgery fees were the real monster. Yining noticed the expression on Mo Qingqing's mother's face and smiled reassuringly. "Auntie, just focus on getting better, you don't need to worry about the fees at all." Li Qingru forced a smile and shook her head.
How could she not worry? Serious illnesses cost a lot of money. Especially for kidney failure like hers, the surgery and kidney transplant will cost hundreds of thousands of yuan. Yining, are you also from Yancheng?
Li Qingru suddenly asked.
Yes, auntie.
Yining nodded, but most of the industry is in Jiangcheng, so I rarely come back. Li Qingru's eyebrows shot up after hearing this.
It sounded like Yining was the boss of a company? You own a company? Li Qingru asked doubtfully. No, I haven't. I've just made a lot of investments.
Li Qingru was a little surprised. A young man in his 20s saying he was making investments.
Could it be that Yining was a rich second generation?
Thinking about this, Li Qingru's face changed slightly.
Could it be that this person was not her daughter's classmate at all, but that her daughter had lied to her? Or perhaps her daughter had struck some kind of deal with this Yining in order to earn the money for the operation?
If that was the case, she would rather be dead herself.
At that moment, Mo Qingqing also walked into the ward with Li Qingru's attending physician. Your mother's condition is like this. Fortunately, you have prepared the operating costs, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable if you wait a few more days.
The doctor looked grave. Then he looked at Li Qingru again and reminded her, "Tell your mother to relax and eat lightly in the next few days, and the operation can be performed in 3 days.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Jiang." Mo Qingqing's face was filled with joy.
Her mother was finally saved. All of this is thanks to Yining, who has given her hope and saved their family.
Qingqing, come here.
After the doctor left, Li Qingru's face was solemn.
When Mo Qingqing came to the bedside, Li Qingru stared intently into her daughter's eyes. Tell me the truth, what is your relationship with Yining? Mom, why are you asking this? Mo Qingqing felt a little embarrassed. If you are just classmates, then where did the surgery fees come from? Mo Qingqing was speechless. In fact, she didn't know what Yining was thinking either.
She liked Yining, and as long as Yining had her in his heart, she didn't mind being his woman, even if she was just one of many.
Yining, I know Qingqing's personality very well.
She looks gentle and weak, but she is actually a very assertive person.
I can see that she really likes you, and I just want to ask, do you like my daughter?
While talking, Li Qingru never took her eyes off Yining's cheeks. In fact, Yining's initial feelings towards Mo Qingqing were, apart from the nostalgia of his first love, also a desire to take her body. But through getting to know her over the past few days, he knew what a strong girl Mo Qingqing was. Especially after this morning, when the two of them opened up to each other, he understood even more that he had fallen for Mo Qingqing. Yining looked grave.
Auntie, I like Qingqing, and I hope you'll agree to let me be with her.
Okay. Li Qingru could tell that Yining was serious, so she had nothing more to say.
Since the two liked each other, why would she do anything to separate them? Li Qingru gently took Mo Qingqing's hand and said, "Daughter, he has already made his feelings clear. What do you think?"
Mom, you've already said everything, and you're asking knowingly.
Mo Qingqing's face flushed with shame and anger.
She had just heard Yining clearly say that he liked her, and although she was shy, she finally let her guard down. At least, her feelings had finally been returned. In the next few days, Yining would accompany Mo Qingqing to the hospital from time to time. Soon, the time came for Li Qingru's surgery.
Chapter 28.
Looking at the 3 words in red that lit up during the surgery,
Mo Qingqing couldn't help but feel worried.
Yining gently embraced Mo Qingqing's soft and delicate body, reassuring her. "Don't worry, the doctor said the chances of a successful surgery are high, she will definitely be fine." Mo Qingqing pressed her cheek against Yi Ning's chest. At this moment, she really wanted to cry. If it wasn't for this man, she really wouldn't know how to come up with the money for her mother's medical expenses. Perhaps in desperation, she really would have compromised for money.
Yi Ning, thank you really.
Mo Qingqing closed her eyes and said softly. Gently patting the thin back of the girl in his arms, Yi Ning felt great pity for the girl. Perhaps only now did the girl truly let go of her pretense of strength and was willing to be her true self in front of him.
3 hours later, the operating room door finally opened. Doctor, how is it? Yi Ning asked immediately.
Mo Qingqing also stood up, her hand holding Yi Ning, sweating. The doctor took off his mask and said tiredly, Don't worry, the surgery was a success. You only need to be monitored in the hospital for half a month, and you can be discharged if there are no other conditions.
Who?
Yi Ning and the others' hearts finally let go.
Ding.
The host, Li Qingru, has spent 500,000 and obtained a critical strike, and is rewarded with ownership of Jiangcheng Kangda Hospital. Yi Ning had previously wondered why there was no system reminder. It turned out that they had
to wait until after the surgery was complete. That was not bad. Jiangcheng Kangda Hospital.
This is the best private hospital in Jiangcheng, both in terms of doctor qualifications and hospital reputation. It is a well-known presence in Jiangcheng.
It even has a good reputation in several surrounding provinces.
Now Yi Ning not only has 1.5 billion in cash. He also has Jiangnan Commercial Street, Jiangnan Building, Jiangnan Hotel, 30% of Feiyu Lives shares, Yinshan Longjing Villa, Jinyang Hotel, and now Jiangcheng Kangda Hospital.
The total assets have reached a staggering 10 billion.
Yi Ning has officially become a billionaire. Yi Ning and Mo Qingqing saw Li Qingru again. She was already in the intensive care unit. Now the two of them could only visit through the window. After the critical period passed tomorrow, she could be transferred to the VIP ward. Yes, Yi Ning had upgraded Li Qingru's ward, so he could feel more at ease. A day later, Li Qingru's critical period passed, and she looked rosy and was recovering well. Mo Qingqing smiled happily, she hadn't felt so relaxed in a long time. Leaving the hospital, the two of them went to Yangchun High School together again, and from across the school gates, they told Mo Qianqian the news.
Mo Qianqian was so happy that she burst into tears.
Now, she could finally devote all of her energy to the college entrance exam.
After dinner, it was already 9 p.m.
Basking in the evening breeze, the two of them walked side by the river.
Yi Ning. HM? The moonlight is so beautiful tonight.
Yes.
Yi Ning. HM? Today is the happiest day I've had in a long time. You'll be happy every day from now on. Yi Ning. HM? Lower your head a little. Mo Qingqing's voice was as soft as a mosquito's. What?
Yi Ning didn't hear her, and unconsciously leaned in.
I said lean in. HM.
Suddenly, a soft, cold sensation appeared on Yi Ning's lips, followed by a sweet breath.
It was gone as soon as it touched. After a long silence, Mo Qingqing said shyly, Say something, will you? Are you really a college student and at a loss for words at a time like this?
Yi Ning thought for a moment, and then said, I can't leave you anymore.
That's so cliché. Mo Qingqing turned her head to the side and said discontentedly, I love you. So direct. My heart will last forever? What is that? Mo Qingqing pursed her lips.
Yi Ning, who didn't know what to say, put his arm around Mo Qingqing's waist with one hand and held the back of her head with the other.
The two kissed again.
The cold touch of the tongue made the two become more and more addicted, sinking deeper and deeper.
After a long time, their lips parted.
Yi Ning leaned down and whispered in Mo Qingqing's ear, It's too noisy here.
Even if you want to think of words, you need a quiet environment, don't you? Mo Qingqing's eyes were flirtatiously seductive. Then can't you find a quiet place to think slowly? An hour later, in a luxury suite at a hotel by the river.
Mo Qingqing had already fallen into a deep sleep, but her face was flushed and her mouth slightly raised, sleeping peacefully. Yi Ning stroked Mo Qingqing's silky, beautiful back, his eyes full of compassion.
He looked out the window and
saw that it was already late at night and the moon was shining brightly.
The next day, it was already high noon.
Yi Ning and Mo Qingqing woke up together. Mo Qingqing tilted her head and looked Yi Ning in the eye, then buried her little head, blushing profusely.
Looking at Mo Qingqing at the moment, Yi Ning couldn't help but swallow. Climb your hand up the mountain. No.
Emo Qingqing frowned slightly, her voice as soft as a mosquito. It hurts.
Yi Ning's heart alerted, suppressing the heat and not continuing. It seems that everyone's constitution is different.
Although the demon girl was also having her first time, she didn't seem to have any problems at all. By the time the two of them walked out of the hotel, it was time for lunch. On the way to the parking lot, Yi Ning supported Emo Qingqing, taking small steps, and occasionally he could hear Emo Qingqing breathe in pain.
Although he felt bad for Emo Qingqing, as the culprit, he couldn't help but smirk. Emo Qingqing saw Yi Ning's smug expression and was infuriated. This villain is simply detestable. During lunch, a phone call interrupted Yi Ning and Emo Qingqing's conversation. "Hello, Mr. Yi, this is Wu Jixing, the director of Kongda Hospital in Jiangcheng. Can you speak now?"
From the other end of the line came the voice of an elderly man, who sounded quite healthy.
"Hello, Director Wu, what can I do for you?"
Yi Ning maintained absolute respect for the profession of doctor.
Chapter 29 on the eve of parting. "Mr. Yi, I have some documents here that need your personal signature. Do you have time recently?" Yi Ning pondered for a moment. "I'm currently in Sichuan province. Can I go back to Jiangcheng the day after tomorrow?" "Okay, Mr. Yi, I'll call you then." After hanging up the phone, Yi Ning looked at Emo Qingqing apologetically and remained silent. The two had only really been together last night, and now they were about to leave immediately. The scumbag himself had been confirmed. Emo Qingqing could tell Yi Ning was apologizing, and although she was reluctant, she was not a sentimental woman.
"It's okay, you go to Jiangcheng first, and when my mom recovers, I'll come find you,"
Emo Qingqing said gently.
Yi Ning was very moved as he squeezed Emo Qingqing's soft hand.
What a sensible woman. He also wanted to be a considerate man.
It is worth mentioning that the day before they left, Yi Ning and his parents finally carried the last package into the villa. From then on, the family formally said goodbye to the house they had lived in for 20 years. Of course, Ye's mother and Yi were both nostalgic people, and after much discussion, they decided not to sell the old house. Yi Ning didn't care, as long as it served as a reminder.
After having his first dinner in the new home, Yi Ning was incredibly satisfied.
His dream of working for a few years had finally come true, and he had finally let his parents move into a big villa that he had never dared to dream of before.
After dinner, Yi Ning didn't expect Bai Ilua to actually message him. "Bai Ilua, Yi Ning, are you still in Yangcheng?" "Yi Ning, yes, but I'm going to Jiangcheng tomorrow." "Bai Ilua, that's good, I'm also going back to Jiangcheng tomorrow. Can I ride with you?"
Yi Ning didn't understand why Bai Ilua didn't take a plane or high-speed train, but it was nice to have company on the road rather than being alone. Although Bai Ilua is a dull person, at the same time, she is also a beautiful woman with top looks. Yi Ning immediately replied, "Okay, see you tomorrow." As it grew dark, Yi Ning put the things she would need tomorrow in the car. While she was drinking water, Emo Qingqing called. Yi Ning was leaving for Jiangcheng tomorrow, and Emo Qingqing, who was newly in love, naturally felt very reluctant.
"Yi Ning, I miss you." Emo Qingqing's soft voice was like a cool breeze blowing into Yi Ning's ears.
Yi Ning suddenly felt dry and thirsty.
"I'll come to you." "Where are you now?" "I'm at home." "Do you want to come?" "Wait for me."
Yi Ning hung up the phone, told his parents, and drove the Mercedes-Benz straight to Emo Qingqing's house.
What is he doing going out at this hour? Ye's father couldn't understand. Ye's mother gave a meaningful smile. What else could he be doing? You're such a secretive son.
He was so excited that he arrived in just 20 minutes, a third of the usual half hour. Even on the way there, Yi Ning stopped at a convenience store. Yi Ning arrived at Emo Qingqing's house and rang the doorbell. Hearing the bell, Emo Qingqing's body trembled slightly.
"It's me, Qingqing."
"Open the door." The door opened, and the two people who met could no longer resist their thoughts, and they embraced tightly.
No, not here. Go to my room."
Half an hour later, Yi Ning was lying on the bed, while Emo Qingqing was dozing with her head on Yi Ning's chest. She had never thought that she would be so bold. She had even secretly brought Yi Ning home, which was really embarrassing when she thought about it now.
Yi Ning noticed Emo Qingqing's unusual behavior and asked with a smile, "What's wrong?"
"Nothing." Emo Qingqing turned her head to the side, determined not to let Yi Ning see her blushing face. But the redness of her ears betrayed her. Seeing that Emo Qingqing was so shy at the moment, Yi Ning also had the idea of teasing her.
"You were so proactive just now, why are you still embarrassed now?" "Yi Ning." Stop talking. Mo Qingqing blushed and giggled. This man is so annoying. He knows she's too embarrassed to speak, but he still teases her. Mo Qingqing's reaction made Yining laugh out loud, and he hugged the girl in his arms even tighter. Qingqing. HM? When your aunt recovers, come to Jiangcheng. I'll find you a place where you can focus on your postgraduate exams. Yining had learned that Mo Qingqing had given up further studies because of her mother's illness. Yining decided to help Mo Qingqing continue her studies by funding her education. She was a good student and it would be a shame to give up halfway. Yining, thank you. Mo Qingqing was very touched. She really wanted to continue her studies, but she didn't have the means to do so at the moment. She didn't want to refuse Yining's kindness, and there was no reason to do so. Silly. Yining fondly stroked Mo Qingqing's hair. We don't need to talk about this between us, not even about postgraduate studies. Even if you want to pursue a doctorate in the future, I will support you. Yining, you're so good. Mo Qingqing pressed her face against Yining's chest and rubbed back and forth. In an instant, Yining's anger was ignited again. Mo Qingqing sensed Yining's unusual mood and her face turned red as if she was about to burst into tears. But instead of refusing, she silently reached out her arm and hooked it around Yining's neck. The next second, the moon hid in the clouds and the shadows swayed red in the candlelight. The next morning, Mo Qingqing had a tired look in her eyes and was sleeping soundly. In contrast, Yining woke up before dawn, his eyes shining with energy and his state of mind excellent. Yining carefully dressed, washed up, and then personally prepared breakfast. After eating breakfast, Yining sealed Mo Qingqing's portion in plastic wrap. Seeing that Mo Qingqing showed no sign of waking up, Yining didn't want to disturb her anymore. He gave her face a gentle tap and quietly left Mo Qingqing's home. Chapter 30 Returning to Jiangcheng with Bai Yiluo. After saying goodbye to her parents, Yining set off for Jiangcheng. At 9 a.m., Yining arrived at the hotel where Bai Yiluo had stayed the previous day. After receiving Yining's message, Bai Yiluo, who had already prepared herself, walked downstairs and recognized Yining's big bag at a glance, and walked forward. Yining recognized Bai Yiluo at once when she appeared at the hotel entrance. Her appearance and temperament are truly outstanding. As long as she stands quietly there, she is the most stunning person in the world. Today, she is still wearing a white plain dress, with black hair like a waterfall, a delicate face, and is beyond beautiful. You still look so good after a few days. Yining said teasingly as Bai Yiluo got into the passenger seat. Bai Yiluo surveyed Yining with her beautiful eyes, then nodded and said, "Thank you, you also look very handsome." Her tone was very serious, as if every word had been carefully considered. Yining had known her for a long time and knew that Bai Yiluo was just like this. "I didn't think you could flatter people." "I'm not blind, I'm just telling the truth," Bai Yiluo said expressionlessly. "Well, this stunning beauty is good at everything, except that it's really boring to chat with her. You can say that she has low emotional intelligence, because she can respond to anything. If you say she's high level, she'll always respond to your topic with a flat tone. By the way, I still don't know what you do." After all, the two of them are considered to be half-buddies, and Yining still wants to know more about this quiet woman. "I'm a junior at Jiangcheng University." Yining was slightly surprised. He didn't realize that Bai Yiluo had not yet graduated. To be honest, from Bai Yiluo, he couldn't see the slightest bit of a student, or rather, she didn't seem like a mortal. If someone told Yining that Bai Yiluo was a fairy fallen to earth, he might believe it. "No one said you don't look like a student?" Yining stared ahead on the highway and couldn't help but ask. "No, what do you mean?" Bai Yiluo was a little confused. This was the first time Yining had seen an expression on her face, and it turned out that this girl was not a face paralyzed. And this expression, no matter how you look at it, is very cute. This is the feeling of being moved. Yining took a deep breath to suppress the fluttering in her heart. "You feel very mature, not at all like a student." "No." Bai Yiluo shook her head to deny it, and added seriously, "I'm still the school flower at our school, and they all say online that I'm their youth." Puff. "Girl, do you mean the same thing when you say youth?" Of course, Yining was not at all surprised by Bai Yiluo's claim to be the school flower. It would be strange if someone with such a divine appearance wasn't voted school flower, right? Although everyone's definition of beauty is different. There are 1,000 Hamlets for every reader. But there are some people whose appearance is pleasing to the majority. Bai Yiluo is obviously one of those people.
As the car drove into the mountain town, the sky turned from sunny to cloudy, and then it was completely overcast.
Thunder could be faintly heard in the distance.
Suddenly, a fierce wind started to blow. On the highway, leaves were flying and dust was billowing. When the wind suddenly stopped, a torrential rain came pouring down. At the same time, there was a rolling thunder and flashes of lightning. Yi Ning stared intently at the road ahead. In such a road section, a slight carelessness could be life-threatening.
There was a service area ahead. Bai Iluwa pointed ahead. Yi Ning nodded.
In such a dangerous situation, it was obviously irrational to drive on the highway. When they arrived at the service area, Yi Ning found a corner to park the car.
Seeing that the rain was getting heavier, it looked like they might not be able to go back today.
Fortunately, Yi Ning had a lot of food in the car that Ye's mother had put in the car that morning, and there was even a huge thermos full of hot water. It was true that listening to your mother is always the right thing to do. At 8 p.m., the heavy rain showed no sign of stopping, and it was getting worse. Yi Ning looked at Bai Iluwa next to him, and it looked like they would have to wait until tomorrow to go back. Bai Iluwa replied softly as he stared at the water splashing on the windshield.
Yi Ning lowered the driver's seat and said half-jokingly, "We'll just have to get by for the night. If it gets cold at night, you can cuddle up to me."
Bai Iluwa looked at Yi Ning, who was already lying down, and after thinking for a while with a furrowed brow, she refused, "Not yet."
At the same time, she followed Yi Ning's example and lay down. "Not yet? So it'll be okay in the future?"
And just now, the way she looked, it seemed like she had really thought about this. Yi Ning couldn't help but turn her head towards Bai Iluwa, and her stunning beauty came into view. This exquisite face, no matter which direction you look at it from, you can't find a single fault. The two were close together, and Yi Ning could smell the faint fragrance of orchids. The aroma was very light, but it was quiet and far-reaching. Just like Bai Iluwa's personality, quiet, but you can't help but want to get close to him.
"What are you doing?" Suddenly, Bai Iluwa opened his eyes. Yi Ning winced and came back to his senses.
He realized that he had leaned very close to Bai Iluwa.
Sorry, I was just looking at you and got lost in thought."
Yi Ning smiled sheepishly and returned his head to its original position.
Bai Iluwa gave a small nod and closed his eyes again.
"Don't daydream, go to sleep, we have a long journey tomorrow." Yi Ning finally felt a little sleepy as he heard Bai Iluwa's voice like the sound of the wind. Yi Ning, with his eyes closed, did not see that Bai Iluwa's mouth curled up from time to time, as if he was forcing himself to endure something. In the middle of the night, while Yi Ning was sound asleep, he suddenly felt a cold mass in his arms. Yi Ning opened his eyes and saw that Bai Iluwa, who was completely soaked, was in his arms.